And it is going. All right. Welcome to Overgrow the System to Sally Mayweather. Is that how I should refer to you, Sally?
Sally, whatever you want to call me,
I
as long as it's not
feel
asshole.
I feel a little more comfortable with Sal than Sally. Just seems a little more.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
I'm only at Sally Mayweather because at Sal Mayweather was taken when I made the account, so I had to
Of
put on the
course.
LY. But yeah, I prefer Sal.
You were probably one of the original agorists that I bumped into, and as soon as I got my head around that word, I just latched onto it because I love it so much.
Yeah, I think that's the natural inclination. I think once people find out about what it is and they learn about it, people are drawn to logic and consistency. People are naturally inclined towards like reason and rationality. So I think once people find out about it, uh, especially like libertarians and those in the movement already, it's an easy sell.
Yeah, it is just logical, right? It's more of like a strategy than an idea.
Right.
I
At
mean,
least
I guess
I think so.
I think so too. I mean, that would be the point where I ask you to what do you think about that? Is it more of a strategy than a theory?
I get yelled at sometimes by other agorists because I think it's a strategy, and most of them agree with me, but there are some in the community who think that that's incorrect, and they think that it really is like a philosophy. And I did an episode of my show a couple episodes back, and I gave like a more metaphysical explanation for agorism, but in the end, it really is a strategy for achieving anarcho-capitalism. There are differences, in the way we like live our lives and things like that, and certain nuanced things and beliefs. But overall, we're just ANCAPs with a much better strategy.
I saw a really cringy tweet from Liberty Hangout where they were talking about agorists and ANCAPs and
Oh, I
how,
saw that. That was
oh man,
terrible.
I don't know how that made it on my timeline. I've muted and blocked that fucking account, but
What did they say? They said something like, if agorism is so consistent, then how come I have to pay for your bail or something like that? It's like
I
you the ones paying the jail guards. They're your prison guards. Let us out. You don't
I
have to
saw
pay to release Ross.
I saw one where they called agorists communists compared to ANCAPs, and I just started to laugh. I was
It's like Sam said, we're more Rothbardian than the Rothbardians.
I I do what I can to live that agorist life. I've got some plants growing that I'm gonna hopefully make some money on. I'm not super sure how I could possibly do that with Bitcoin. Like out at the farmers market, but that's obviously the next step, eh?
Well, I'll tell you what. One of my friends up in New Hampshire had the way they did it was they put out like a sign with like a QR code, and they offered discounts for people who paid in silver coins or cryptocurrency. And he said, like, before you knew it, there was like a whole bunch of other people at the farmers market who were, accepting crypto and metals.
That would be freaking sweet if you know.
It catches on.
It seems like that's New Hampshire's probably a little bit more populated. Um, it might be making more progress in like the larger areas than like the backwoods. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, New Hampshire is pretty rural for. I mean, I'm in New York City, so New Hampshire that's like the country for me. Where are you again? You're in Canada?
I'm in more or less. Well, I mean, right now I'm kind of in the city, but I spend most of my time in rural Alberta, up in
Okay.
Canada, um, way out in the bush working on heavy machinery. So
Okay.
to me, pretty much, it's funny how that's a subjective term. Country. Like some people, New Hampshire is super populated and urban, and you from New York City, it would be extremely empty and agricultural, right?
It's weird. When I first went up there, I went up there for Pork Fest like 2013, 2014. It was an absolutely life-changing event for me because that's where I became an agorist. I mean, the event has declined over the years, but that's where I learned 3D printing. I learned aquaponics. That's where I was using metals to like trade. Like, I mean, that was like anarchist summer camp back in the day. But the thing that really sticks out for me, being from where I am, is that I didn't realize how many stars were in the sky until I got up to New Hampshire. I mean, my whole life, I didn't realize it. I just thought there was just a couple stars up there. And I got to New Hampshire and I was like, oh my God. Yeah. And then I went to Asia just recently and I was like, wow, there's even more than New Hampshire's even lets on, you know?
And they're different too. You go to Australia, you see a whole different set of constellations.
Dude, I saw what was it, the nebula? Or what do you call it? It's like, it looks
Uh,
like a cloud up in like of stars. It's crazy.
the Milky Way, yeah, the nebula.
Yeah. It was nuts. I didn't even know you could see that with your naked eye. And then there I was looking at it. So
That's a little bit sad. I'm not gonna lie to you.
yeah, I know. And actually, what's fucked up is that here in New York, you are actually required. You're gonna think I'm making this up, but your listeners aren't won't believe me. You actually need a stargazing permit to look up at night in New York. So we have to pay Emperor Cuomo $35, and if you're out of state, it's more to look up in the state of New York at night.
I've seen those. I've seen pictures of that stargazing permit. And from what you're saying, if you can only see a couple stars, what the hell's the point?
It's not even worth it. It's a ripoff.
This beer I'm drinking can't make its fucking mind up whether or not it's gonna spray foam everywhere. I don't know what the hell's going on.
What are you drinking?
Oh, just some bullshit I found in the cupboard.
I'm unprepared. I would have brought one.
Cronenberg. I don't know, man. It ain't what I would pick, but it was around.
It's a beer. It works.
But seriously, look at this. This thing crowns every time I drink out of it. I don't know what to do. Just gonna leave it. Baloney. Um, that's awesome. You got into aquaponics in New Hampshire. I saw some things about New Hampshire where it was like everybody's gonna move there to sway the political makeup. Is that a thing?
Yeah, yeah. They call that the Free State Project. And like the idea is like if you can get excuse me, there was a poli sci professor from like Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. It's a good school. He's a smart dude, Jason Sorens, and he figured out that if you can get like 20,000 libertarians to move into a small state that already has a lot of libertarians, it's like very representative, then you can sort of take over or influence the elections with a small group of people. Back in the day, I was part of it, and that's the group that puts on that puts on Porkfest. Once I became an agorist, though, I realized that wasn't the answer. Right? The Sam Conkin refers to that as anarcho-Zionism, and I just actually before we started speaking, I just posted an article on Twitter from the New Libertarian blog. We republished Sam's original piece on that. Basically, the idea is like, obviously the idea of a libertarian state would be a contradiction. So, also we've tried it, right? We've tried that in history and it doesn't work. The people of South Carolina were genocided by Lincoln when they tried it. So, it's not, we have the evidence that it doesn't work.
That's part of American history that I know absolutely nothing about. That
I,
Lincoln era.
Most Americans don't know anything about it either. So don't feel bad.
I mean, up in Canada, we hear, like in school, we learn about the more or less just the American Revolution from England. We don't really cover any of your Civil War.
You're better off because the version that we learn is just complete nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hold much weight behind the version we learn either.
True.
Canada is probably equally, if not more, guilty of being some sort of absurd, you know, dystopic.
Lost in political correctness.
Oh man, and even before that, like just the loyalists trying to hold on to their power. It's fucking wild to think about.
I know all of it. Really, all of it's really political history is such a shit show. It's just one crooked tyrant to the next. One corrupt regime who belongs in prison to the next.
Yeah, with their court of lawyers just trying to make it unmanageable for the next 100 years.
And somehow they always succeed.
Yeah, I mean, if you could pick, which would you rather? Would you rather be American or Canadian?
I don't really want to be part of any. Let's put it like this: I don't want to live under a government. I the one thing that I like about the American people is that we have a very low tolerance for um, I don't know what the proper word is. We don't like the idea of people infringing on our liberty. It happens. It happens all the time. But like if you look at something like let me think of a good example, like gun laws around here, like in New York, New Jersey, nobody actually listens to them. Nobody follows these gun laws, right? So I mean, for all intents and purposes, they're kind of null and void. They only exist so that if you piss off a cop or a politician, they can come and ruin your life. And that's basically what it's used for. We just nominated, or the Democrats nominated a dementia patient rather than a socialist. So like that gives me a little bit of hope for the people, but I think at this point every government is too fucking far gone to be saved.
Agreed. Agreed. I mean, I would rather be American, 100%, no doubt. It's kind of complicated because I fell off a roof a couple years ago, and like if I was American, I'd be millions of dollars in debt because of all the surgeries and stuff and time I spent in the hospital. But that being said, um, you know, there's pros and cons to everything, and I'm pretty sure I'd rather be American.
Well, I mean, if you got into like an accident here, you or really anywhere, you should be able to sue, you know, whoever, the homeowner's insurance, something like that. You can't do that up there, or is it different?
I mean, yeah, maybe that would be the difference, the liability. Up here, I mean, I was at work, so I didn't sue anybody. I took workers' compensation, uh, and you know, they threw me into their bureaucracy and sink or swim, and I got through the other side. But it hasn't worked out very well. I didn't do that very intelligently. I retrained to be a heavy equipment operator, and it turns out that that's not exactly a very good industry to be physically disabled in. They really like it when you can operate a machine and also run the shovel at the end of the day. And a lot of the people that do that work can do both really well. And when I go up and I say, hey, I can do half of this, it doesn't appeal to very many people.
Yeah, right, right, right. So what's the move? What are you gonna do?
I mean, I don't know. This whole quarantine thing's been insane. uh, Although actually, I had good news in this area just today. I got a text from an old guy I was working for building a road, and his company's got that contract again, and he called me. So I might be on a crew building a road up in the north near Grand Prairie, coming up at the end of May, because we got to wait for the snow to melt. But who knows? I'm not counting any of that until it happens.
Yeah, of course, of course. Hopefully, though.
Yeah, yeah, that would be
Fingers
really good news.
crossed.
That would be good news for me. I mean, it's not. It's as far from agorism as possible.
Well, I mean, I was going to say you can always supplement that income with counter economics.
That's pretty much what I've been doing in the downtime here. I've been working on trying to get as many side hustles going as I can.
Let me make a recommendation for you.
I'd love one.
One thing that I found was very very profitable that you can do just from your computer. With really, you don't need any resources other than an internet connection. Is trading Bitcoin. If you go over to local.bitcoin.com, dude, I was making a fucking fortune. I mean, I killed it this year. And it's so easy. It's like stupid simple.
That is a topic I'd love to talk to you about because I started this GoFundMe to get my side hustle business going, and one of the anarchy Twitter people, one of our friends, they sent me $100 in Bitcoin, and they like walked me through all this crypto stuff and how to like set up my wallet and how to get into the exchange and all that.
Yeah.
But I feel like you could teach me a heck of a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, you know, geez, we could spend weeks just discussing Bitcoin stuff. But
Exactly.
um, what the just in regards to what I was saying, like what you could do would be like to buy Bitcoin through like a normal exchange, and then you go back and sell it on local.bitcoin.com in like a peer-to-peer fashion, and then you just take a markup, and then you need like some kind of payment processor like Cash App or Alipay or something like that. But yeah, you can make a lot of money if you do that consistently. You know what I mean?
I tried to get that Cash App thing, but I think it's only an America thing.
It might be. There's other, like you can use PayPal. You have to experiment because like different payment processors have different rules like regarding chargebacks and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful and make sure you do your homework.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can end up getting robbed.
And I've heard some things about how some of the cryptocurrencies now doing that know your customer thing where they're tracking you.
Yeah. Well, KYC, AML laws, know your customer, anti-money laundering laws are the bane of the agorist existence. This is what drives us nuts because, if you want to buy crypto through Coinbase, it's all KYC. You got to get KYC. Uh, different crypto cards and things like that, they all require KYC. You have to really know the how to navigate the system to avoid all that KYC shit. It's not easy. Local.bitcoin.com is one way of doing that. They don't require anything from you. They don't require. You can make up your name. I mean, they don't require anything, and that's because it's run by other agorists, successful agorists.
Yeah. This is that area where Buddy was telling me about it, and he was talking about anti-money laundering, and it just starts going way over my head, you know?
It's just essentially that government wants them to record your info so that they can track you down and say, "Oh, you made this much money in Bitcoin this year. Where's our piece?" you know.
Exactly, yeah.
So
Where is our tax money?
right, and then you could buy altcoins. Excuse me, altcoins like Monero or Zcash or something like that on an exchange, but you would have to if you wanted to go about it in a non KYC fashion, in like an anonymous fashion, you would either a have to use one of those peer to peer exchanges like local.bitcoin.com, or you would have to go on a DEX, a decentralized exchange, and then you could trade like whatever the base currency is. It's usually Bitcoin. You can trade it for whatever other. I'm sure there's thousands of coins that they list. You know what I mean?
Interesting. So far I've just kind of been, when Bitcoin goes high, I sell a little bit, and when it goes low, I buy it back. Just trying to get that ratio up.
That's the it's a dangerous game to play though because I played it for years. The problem is though, one day you wake up and you sold it, and then you wake up before you can buy, and the price skyrocketed. You're like, what happened? How did I miss off on $1,000?
That bit me hard. I think it was December 27th. I bought back in when it went up like $40 or something, and then all of a sudden it just went.
Yeah. See, my thing is like I don't care if it's $1 or $1,000,000. I'm gonna use it. Like whatever the price is, like I'm not going to use the counterfeit notes of a criminal banking cartel that only wants me to use this money so that I can enable them to murder children and like arrest my neighbors. So I'm not. I won't do it. I won't do it. I basically have $0. I have a shit ton of crypto, but I basically have $0. And I have silver and gold and stuff too.
Wow,
Yeah, I don't believe in banking with them.
that's a principled take. A lot of people, I mean, they wouldn't even understand that, but it makes perfect sense. What does the government do with their tax money? Well, not very many good things.
No, no, and I mean, I'm sure the Canadian government isn't a saint, but in America, I mean, it's really bad. Like, especially the inflation that gets paid to like murder kids and stuff. It's just like I'm not trying to pay for that. I don't want to go through my life with that on my conscience.
Yeah, I'm sure our government's equally
Oh
equal
yeah, oh
evil.
yeah. I mean, Trudeau's just an embarrassment, though. It's like
Uh,
Trump is dangerous, but Trudeau is just like embarrassing. It's not that Trump isn't embarrassing, also, but
Tell me about it, man. Fuck. Trudeau has been embarrassing the entire time. Like in Alberta, as soon as Trudeau got elected, actually even before he got elected, like when he was running, there were like everybody had these, 2-foot stickers on the back of their truck with the middle finger and fuck Trudeau and make Trudeau a drama teacher again and just the
is that what he was, a
entire
drama teacher?
he was a fucking drama teacher and a snowboard instructor. Like,
Well, dude, we got a reality TV star, so well, I mean, at least you got the snowboard instructor.
I
Do,
mean,
do you think that his dad was Fidel Castro?
I do. I
He looks like him,
actually
doesn't
do. Well, just from what I know about that family, like Pierre Trudeau was kind of a crazy Frenchman, and that, that says a lot. And his wife was like this young fucking trophy wife, and they were back in the 60s and they were all doing LSD or whatever the fuck. And it was like well known that she was cheating on Pierre. And I mean, I'm pretty goddamn sure that Pierre is not his dad. But, you know, is that relevant? Who the hell cares who his dad is?
Well, that would explain some of his communist leanings, you know.
Well, he could get that just from being in Quebec.
All right, true.
Freaking Quebec, man. I'm one of the Albertans that wishes Alberta would no longer be a part of Canada.
I think in America, we get that too. Like every state wants to secede from the union.
I mean, I got into an argument about it because as soon as you make Alberta its own country, then technically you're a minarchist because you want to enforce your border against the rest of your country. And yeah, I mean, fair enough. Maybe that does make me a minarchist on that issue.
See, the better thing, this is what Rothbard said. If we're okay with state or province level secession, then we should be okay with city level secession. And if we're okay with city level secession, then we should be okay with any neighborhood seceding from the city. And if we're okay with that, we should be okay with any house or any block seceding from the neighborhood and any house from the block. And at that point, we should just accept that any individual can secede from society at large. And that's, basically agorism.
100%. I mean, that's the pipe dream, right? Like that's what I originally hoped that would be where it ended up, but from watching the political swell, that's not it. I kind of abandoned the Wexit crowd because you know, it's sort of a weird Canadian offshoot of the MAGA. Do you know what I mean?
Right, right. Like a more like populist based kind of thing.
And literally, they all love Trump, and if you talk shit about the military industrial complex, they jump down your throat, and it's so strange that that's included in this movement that would be decentralizing and sort of for liberty.
Well, it just goes to show you how powerful the state is, how powerful the enemy is. It's taken public schools a long time to achieve that effect.
I mean, this month is such an unprecedented goddamn month for all the people being homeschooled and all the people that aren't at work. And
I
what's
mean,
it like
Kurt,
down in New York?
it's crazy, man. It's crazy. We have martial law here. I mean, there's tanks in the street.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, it's like I see people on Twitter that are like, "Oh, I can't go to the gym today," and I'm like, we have National Guard on the street. Like, what don't you people understand? We are way past. I can't go to the movie theater today. Like some guy on Twitter was like, he was literally complaining that his golf course like got shut down. I'm like, dude, I haven't been able to find milk for a week. Like, what's going on here?
Is it really that bad there?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's not good. We have uh um like security outside the grocery stores, letting one person in at a time. So there's like a line around the block, and it's like you have to stand 6 feet apart in the line with a mask on and gloves, or else the cops will come and get you.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, dude, it's wild. It's insane. Upstate, and I heard this from a couple of friends. I didn't experience this, thank God, but upstate, if you drive like an hour or two up north, dude, no joke, they literally have giant flashing signs, and it says, "Keep your windows up," and like they pull you off into a checkpoint. They come up to your window in like a hazmat suit, test you on the spot for coronavirus, and if
For like a fever?
I don't know. I don't know how they do it, if they swab you or if they test you for a fever or what it is. But if they determine that you're positive, then they just wheel you off into one of their camps, like Hitler or something. They just put you onto the boxcar and send you to camp. And
Like Hong Kong.
I mean, yeah, Hong Kong is another story because I saw pictures in like some newspaper. They were like taking bodies out at night so that the people couldn't see during the day. I mean, I don't know. At the same time, around here they're telling us that like everybody's dying. We're losing like 1,000 people a day almost around here. And it's funny though. I've lived here my whole life. I don't know anybody who has it. I don't know anybody who knows anybody who has it, but yet we're all dying from it. So it's like, I don't know, all of my friends who are doctors tell me it's real, it's not a joke and stuff like that. And I believe it's real. I think it's like a real thing. I just think that there's definitely, it's super convenient for them if you consider all like the events going on in the market and like
Yeah.
the the economy is collapsing. This is a great excuse for them to have martial law in place. Like, hey guys, it's not your politician's fault that the economy is collapsed. It's the virus's fault, right? That's why we have to, print $6 trillion and send everybody checks. It's not the fact that we're economically illiterate or that we've been irresponsible. You know.
Yeah, I was talking to Collapsitarian Skip. I was talking to him about that, how it's just so perfectly timed to cover their ass for everything that was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, and that's what drives me nuts too, because like they always try to find a way to like squeak by, and these sheep, these public school victims, these fluoride drinkers, they eat it up, man. It's like they just shovel the shit into their mouths. It's like I just don't understand how they could buy into these obviously false narratives.
Fluoride drinkers, that's funny.
You know.
I'm guilty of that. I drink the tap water like a sheep.
Well, that might not be any better. I don't know. I'm drinking Poland Spring for people listening audio.
Cheers. So you're into aquaponics from New Hampshire. That's awesome. Do you have any aquaponic rigs going?
I do. I do actually. I had in so like there's like different kinds you can have. I did a whole podcast episode about this. There's basically three main kinds you can have. I don't know if you know anything about it.
Oh, I'm super into it. I love
Oh, you know it.
aquaponics.
Okay, great.
I would love this topic.
Awesome, awesome, great. So I had an NFT rig set up, and basically I had like a rack of PVC pipes. Okay, great, awesome. Yeah, you got that's actually what I'm talking about on the cover.
I love this. Yeah, nutrient film technique, right? Where you just
Yeah,
run
yeah,
a,
yeah,
a small
yeah.
amount.
Yeah, I had that running into an ebb and flow container, and I built like a bell siphon, so the water would run down the NFT rack into the ebb and flow, fill up. And when it got to a certain level, it would automatically drain itself into my fish tank, where it would be pumped back up to the top of the NFT rack. Problem was that I had this indoors,
Yeah.
and I didn't have enough light. So even though I did it like right in front of a window, I put my NFT rack right in front of a window, and I had some full spectrum bulbs set up, but it still wasn't enough light. My cousin's an electrician, and he's like, yo, man, I can get you a street light. I'm like, I'm not trying to go blind, I have a cat too, so I don't want the cat to go blind.
I think a streetlight would just be an HPS bulb, which is pretty
Yeah.
standard for most grows. Um,
Okay.
I've got a grow going on in here, just a bunch of cannabis and some other stuff.
Nice. What kind of rig you have? Aquaponics or?
It's not set up for aquaponics. I had at one point cannabis set up on a sort of aquaponic system. What I had a giant koi stock tank. It was like 5 feet by 6 feet and about 3 feet deep, and had a bunch of koi in there. And what I did was I had basically a sump, so like just a garbage bin. Like I used exactly a garbage bin. And what I would do is when I changed my koi water, I would just fill it up with koi water. And
It's a good idea.
well, I mean, it wasn't aquaponics because it didn't cycle back into the fish,
Right.
but it meant that I could add my bloom nutrients, my veg nutrients, and all that crazy
Very
like
cool.
all that stuff. And I had it on a drip irrigation up into the pot plants, and then it would
So
just
that's
cycle
that's hydroponics then.
essentially. But I was using koi water, right? So it was like a mix of both.
Yeah, it was like yeah, yeah. You're sort of straddling the line there.
Yeah, I just didn't want that stuff cycling back to my fish because I figured, all those liquid nutrients would not be good.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure you're gonna add all that stuff in there. If you're gonna keep it, chemical free, you probably could get away with it.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people do chemical-free cannabis with aquaponics, but I'm
I
not
did it. I did
I'm
it.
not super pro.
I did it. It wasn't that successful. It wasn't that successful. I had a couple little pot plants, and super illegal here. They'll shoot and kill you for it. They've done it before. But I put one in my ebb and flow rig, and dude, I don't know what happened. It was like I don't know, it got like stunted in growth or something. Even took I had a dedicated full spectrum bulb, threw it right on top of this sucker, and like she just wouldn't grow, and she eventually, like after a couple of weeks, she just died.
It's tricksy to do inside. It's a whole lot different than outdoor. Like outdoor, you can throw these like take a clone, throw it outside, she'll flourish through the summer, and you basically don't have to even look at it. But indoors, it's tricky, man. I lost two seeds recently, and I don't know why. I don't know what variable went wrong. One of the books I was reading on it explains it like an old school barrel where it was made out of those boards with the
Yeah. Yes.
basically you think about the plant like one of those barrels where you're trying to fill it up with water, but if one of your components that it needs are lacking, one of your boards is short, right? So the barrel will never get to the top. It'll just always fill at that low level. It's kind of like you're as strong as your weakest link.
True.
So like I don't know, maybe my temperatures were off, maybe my soil wasn't draining quick enough. It was too swampy.
It could also be a simple thing like genetics, like depending on what kind of seeds you had and stuff like that.
I mean, I went all out. I got these seeds straight up from Amsterdam from a medical seed bank,
Oh,
Sensi
holy shit!
Seeds.
Nice.
I'm so sad that I lost two of them, man. I spent $200 for 10 of these seeds, which was, that was significant for me because usually I just,
How much do they cost? I should get some.
oh shoot, man. I'm aiming to produce seeds. That's 100% my goal this summer. I like weed in Canada. Fuck it, nobody gives a shit about flower. But if you're growing seeds, that's actually a pretty decent market because nobody can get these seeds, and I got them from Amsterdam. So why wouldn't I try to spread these genetics? So if that works out, I can send you some. But
Hell yeah, dude!
uh,
I'll pay you in Bitcoin.
oh, that would be awesome.
For economics.
But if you are interested in them, you can. I mean, the Sensi seeds doesn't ship to North America, but you can get them second, like second
No, it's illegal
level.
here. It's illegal in
Oh,
New
is it?
Jersey. Yeah, yeah. New York, New Jersey is still illegal. New York, they don't care. Like you can smoke weed and shit, but like they don't want you doing anything other than that.
I mean, they stealth package them. Like, I'm pretty sure you could get away with. I mean, I shouldn't put that. I shouldn't blast that on the internet like an idiot. But I got them to stealth package mine just because I wanted to see what it was like. And they sent them from Seedsman, which is like this American website that sort of aggregates them all into the one place and then ships them out. And it was really well stealthed. Like, they would have to really tear that thing apart to the molecule to find them.
Well, I know like on tour and stuff. I don't know, have you ever bought anything off tour, like off of an onion market?
No, you mean like a torrent thing?
No, like the deep web, the dark web, like the
I
Silk Road.
I'm not savvy. I try
Okay.
to pretend I am, but I'm not.
Okay, so essentially, like the internet that we know of is like this big. It's like 20% of the whole internet. The other 80% is like the deep web, the dark web that no one actually browses because you need a special Tor browser. And it's encrypted and stuff like that. It's like a whole project. I'm not like a computer dude, but yeah. So eventually, like it provides a little bit more security, and people were buying and selling shit with Bitcoin on these onion markets, so they couldn't be traced. And this is how Ross Ulbricht set up the first ever Silk Road.
Yeah, Silk Road. I've heard about that.
He made a bunch of money, and he referred to himself as the Dread Pirate Roberts, which was his like pseudonym. And eventually, the trash and the FBI tracked him down and arrested him. And this scumbag whore, sorry, I don't need to curse, named
Go nuts.
Catherine B. Forrest, the federal judge, gave him double life plus 40
Fuck that whore.
for doing not one. He didn't hurt a person. He didn't bring harm to one individual. All he did was start a website that other people could trade freely on. And like the idea was, oh well, people were buying and selling drugs, but like if I was selling heroin, then like you could see my rating. I could have like 1,500 people who said, oh, I've bought this guy's heroin and I never overdosed, and I buy it every time. So that like there's some like some semblance of market accountability there. But anyway, I got way off track there because I'm so passionate about what they've done to Ross. It really pisses me off. But yeah, you can buy shit from Tor and like they package it super super discreetly because it's all black market.
Yeah.
I know people who have they've purchased certain substances off Tor, and like you can get them from Poland, and you'll get them in like a thing of cocoa butter, and you'd be like, it looks like a fruit basket, and you're like looking at the fruit basket, like, where is the good stuff?
Yeah.
And you can't find it, and you open up the cocoa butter, it looks like normal cocoa butter, and you dig into it, and like there it is, like it's like in a plastic bag in like the middle of like the cocoa butter, you know. So the black market is super super stealthy.
Yeah, they're clever. I was so choked. I got this envelope and I was like, oh, I've been waiting forever. And I open it up and it's fucking bunch of car wipes, you know, like those microfiber cloths. And I was like, what happened? But then I realized, oh, I gotta go find them. They were in there, man. They were
I
real
got
freaking
robbed.
stuff. Yeah, I was choked.
That's funny.
Uh, that's too bad yours didn't work out. I wonder if it was light, heat. It could have been anything. It's hard to
I've
grow
done
things
indoor
indoors.
grows like um that have succeeded before, just not with aquaponics.
Yeah.
Regular, sort of grows that have worked out well. I've got a buddy who goes out to California like every fall. And like I guess now maybe not so much because it's illegal, but like the last couple of years, he's made a shit ton of money. He goes out there and like trims the pot,
Yeah.
and like he makes all kinds of money from that.
Up here, I lived in a town called Nelson in the middle of BC, where it's like that's 99.9% of their economy is growing weed, and around around August, July
Yeah,
area, it just smells like Kush. The entire freaking city stinks like Kush. It's
that's
insane.
awesome.
It was pretty sweet, and you could get work trimming just like easy. It's what everybody did.
Cool. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what he was doing. He was out in Humboldt County though. But yeah, apparently you make good money doing that.
Decent. I mean,
I actually had him on my podcast like 2 years ago to discuss like, because it's obviously it was counter economics. Now I think it's white market, but
it's a little bit gray. You know what I mean? Like technically I'm not allowed to be doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like if I'm
really,
growing well, I don't know. It's complicated. Like I'm allowed to have 4 plants and I'm allowed to have more if other people designate me as their producer. And I'm medical, right? Because I'm super injured. I got like freaking 30 screws in me. So
oh my
anybody that would
god, you're like half metal.
exactly, yeah, from the ankles down, I'm all metal. Um, so like even before it was legal here, I was growing because I knew I was medical and what are they going to do about it? Um, but I don't know, man. If I'm growing for seeds to distribute, I'm pretty sure they would be unhappy about that, which makes no sense
Yes, here there's $1,000 reward at any given time for anybody who's growing anything.
for the people to report them.
Yeah, if you report somebody growing anything, the communists will give you $1,000. Yeah, to turn in your own neighbors.
It's fucked the times we're living through right now. Like,
Crazy, man, crazy for a fucking flower.
well, and all that, like your neighbors reporting you, and even with like this new coronavirus thing,
Oh
right?
my god, yeah.
Snitches, man.
Like people like just calling the cops on your neighbor because you saw them go outside is crazy to me. Like I saw somebody in England that was like, oh, so and so like went for a walk twice today. It's like that's your biggest problem in life, that like your neighbor went outside twice. If that's your biggest problem, your life has been wildly successful. You know,
I don't understand that. I think it might be a little bit different per country. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of I don't really get that whole calling the cops vibe up here. I don't think it's illegal to leave your house up here.
I mean, like, how could they enforce it? What are they gonna do? Send a cop out? Like, especially if like they're so like if New Hampshire's rural to you, then I'm sure you probably don't live too close to the local police station.
Well, I'm kind of in the city right now, but yeah, that's something I've been saying about Canada for pretty much my whole life. It's that like, yeah, we have these stupid socialist laws, but on the other hand, you know, we kind of have the space to get away with whatever we want
Right.
as long as
Um,
there's no victim,
See,
right?
it's funny because we have a similar sort of thing. Like you can kind of get away with you get away with what you want to do, but that's for the opposite reason. It's because we're so close together. Like everything is so busy and so packed that like they don't have time to like navigate the small stuff. I had some friends come up from Florida and like we were just cruising by Central Park and like some moron ran into like a car and just kept going. And they were like, hit and run. They called the NYPD and I was like, don't call the NYPD. Please don't call the NYPD. I was like, they don't, first of all, they're not going to care. And like as soon as like they called, they're like, yeah, there's a hit and run. The lady's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we'll be right on that. Okay. Yeah, don't worry, we'll take care of that. Click, you know.
Yeah,
It's like they're looking for like terrorism and shit. They don't care about like the bumpers, the fender benders.
that is interesting. It's the exact opposite, you know. You're protected by your herd.
Yeah, right. It's like almost like I'm not good at like getting lost in like the woods. I'm very good at getting lost in like a city though. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Totally different skill base.
yeah, right, right. We're both operating in like the counter markets, but we're just in different settings.
Yeah, I'm the opposite, man. You threw me in New York, I'd probably not make it, but I can start a fire with flint and steel, you know.
Yeah, see, I'm the like I could not survive up by you. And if you gave me flint and steel, I wouldn't know what to do with it. you know. But you throw me in like the Bronx or something, and I can navigate my way around. It wouldn't be fun, but I can get around.
It's interesting. I mean, you know, that's the beauty of the internet. This the two different completely polar worlds can share,
Yeah, right,
you
exactly.
know.
Exchange ideas on like something like agorism.
Absolutely.
Sam was actually up he was from Alberta.
Oh,
Yeah, Sam was from Edmonton, I believe. I think. Don't quote me, the listeners, or I'm going to get somebody to be like, "No, he's not. He's from this city." He's from. So I believe he's from Alberta. I know he's from Canada. He moved to America. He immigrated here illegally, and he got in trouble for something, so they deported him back to Canada, and he came back again illegally.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The thought has crossed my mind to come down to America because it's fucking insane up here, man. Fucking Trudeau and our entire system. It's like it's unworkable. So for 100 years, we've kind of just been like, fuck it, whatever. In Alberta, like there's cartoons from Alberta where it's like 1905, and they're talking about how the East is just running roughshod over the West, and they're taking all of our profit. And you flash forward to today, and it's the exact same arguments word for word. And like at that point, you have to go like, are we? Is there a point to this? Should I just go to America?
Yeah, we have similar dynamics though here in the same way. Like, Southern California uses all the resources from Northern California. Um, you know, New Jersey is similar because like the southern part of the state is very agricultural and the northern part of the state is very urban. So it's like the north sort of relies on the agricultural production of the south. I don't also like the Civil War. Like that was what it was all about. It was all because Lincoln was trying to extort revenue from the southern states and use it to fund infrastructure projects up north so that Republicans can keep winning elections. So it's like there's always like that's the thing about like states and setting up political entities is that there's always one group trying to benefit at the cost of the other, and that always causes tension and strife, and eventually uh, it causes a breakdown if you wait long enough.
I'm too stubborn to leave. I feel like if I left and like people like me left, then what would be left in Canada? Just a bunch of Trudeau. Like
Dude,
that doesn't sound good.
let me tell you something. I feel that because I feel the exact same way about here. You know how many times I've said to myself, I want to get the fuck out of here, but like I couldn't leave. I know I can't leave. It's like the city's like a girl that like she just keeps like doing you dirty, but you can't give her up. You know, like that's
Too
what it
hot,
is.
too hot to
Yeah, it's
leave.
like and that's what it's like. It's really it's what it reminds me of. You know,
I
like I've been
fucking
running
hear
around these
that.
streets for 30 years. I can't. You know, I want to leave, and eventually I probably will. But it's like it'll always be home. You know.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way.
I'll never give up like and cede it to the socialists.
100%. It's where you're from. It's where you were formed to exist. You know what I mean? Like, it's the place where you are natural. You
And you
leave
have
it.
like exactly right, yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
I've
Like
had this
it's where your
argument.
memories and your roots are, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and like it's what you adapted to be best at in existing in.
Yes, yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like I can, like like from here to like lower Manhattan is basically, it's basically everything I know. You know what I mean? So it's like I really haven't the furthest west I've been in Chicago, and I've been to like Asia, and I've been around like the East Coast and stuff like that. So I don't really do as much traveling as I'd like to do.
I traveled once. I regret that. Um,
Where'd you go? You regret it?
yeah, I mean, it was pretty unwise. I've made some dumb decisions in my life. I That's kind of a trend. Uh, I was it was when I was living in Nelson in the middle of BC. One of my roommates was like he was married to this German lady, and they were traveling, and they ended up in the middle of BC, and he was like from the middle of the Dominican Republic, like in the middle, like not on the coast. Like he was in the middle of the island and like near the border of Haiti.
Oh, don't tell me you went there.
Oh fuck yeah, bud. He said, "Why don't you come hang out with me at my village? You could stay with my family." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds extremely interesting." And it was I can't remember what year it was. It might have been 2013, but it was just after that earthquake or whatever in Haiti. Like there were all those
Dude, oh my
FEMA
God.
camps and everything. It was crazy, man. I got cholera. I lived it was insane. I saw some crazy shit, dude. I saw just hordes of Haitians walking up the river from Haiti into the Dominican, and
Oh my God, man. You picked a hell of a time to go.
it was wild, man. The only thing that went wrong that entire trip is they fucking stole my sunscreen. I'm not even joking. I wish I was. Fuck, I was walking through this market and I had my sunscreen in like the outside pocket of my backpack because I'm an idiot, just a straight up idiot. I should not have done that. But obviously, one of those Haitians thought they could eat it or something. I don't know. But they stole my sunscreen. And there's no sunscreen in that whole country. You can't buy it. I'm the only goddamn pale face.
I mean, not going to say not for nothing, but I don't think the Haitians need the sunscreen, you know?
100%. There's no way they could use it. That chapped my ass, man. I was a little bit annoyed for a long time.
Well, if they're going to steal something, it's better they steal your sunscreen than your wallet or your glasses or your car or something like that, you know?
That's a very good point. If I'd lost my glasses, I would have been in a world of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, sunscreen. That was just anyway. Fucking Haiti. That was I regret that. I probably would have been better off if I'd stayed home, put some hours in work, and made some money.
I don't
Uh,
know. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that traveling is important, you know? Honestly, one of the reasons I haven't left here is because I haven't been able to figure out where I want to go. Like, first I want to do it in New Hampshire. And I was like, it's kind of cold. I'll go to Florida. And I was like, I don't really want to do Florida either. So I don't know. Honestly, this is probably the first time I'm actually verbalizing it. What I've been thinking though is just to like, just fucking go, just like do 3 months in some country and then see how I like it and just keep moving. If I like it, keep moving. I've got like a nice bunch of Bitcoin. I got a whole pile of Bitcoin saved up, so you can't die with it. You might as well use it.
would you travel using Bitcoin, or would you have to convert that to fiat?
Well, there are airline websites that you can buy tickets from using Bitcoin Cash, but I have the BitPay card, which makes it super simple. You just like send crypto to an account, and it converts into dollars, and then you can just swipe it like a debit card.
Oh, nice. So it's basically it's like an account that you can just use.
Kind of. The thing that sucks about it is that it's like a top-up card. You have to like send crypto to it. Like let's say you send $20 to your card, it becomes 20 US, you
Right.
know. Whereas there used to be a card called the Shift card that was connected to your Coinbase account, and it would just debit right out of your account, which was nice. But they don't. You didn't even have to spend fiat. So like they don't. They canceled that though for whatever reason. So
It's interesting times we live in. The technology, uh, it's it's come so far that at this point we're just trying to catch up and use it. You know.
yeah, I mean, you know, see, I've been in crypto for a while now. This is like my like seventh year now in like the Bitcoin world. Uh, but dude, a lot of people got made a shit ton of money. I didn't get rich. I made a lot of money, but I didn't get rich. But I've got friends who like got rich, rich, rich. Um, I got a buddy who, and he's kind of the inspiration for that idea I just ran past you because this dude lives in Bali full time with his girl, and like he just trades Bitcoin all day. But he's been doing this for years, and I mean, this dude is like super stupid rich from doing it. So
Living in Bali,
yeah. And then he's been all around the world. He just liked Bali the most.
that's like out of a movie. You know,
Yeah, literally,
and like
literally,
a
that's what his life is.
beautiful tropical island.
Yeah, and his girl's like a model. He's got like he bought a house there because I mean, he's like stupid rich, and he's got like a whole garage full of like motorbikes and scooters. They ride around the island. I mean, his like Snapchat is like crazy.
Yikes, that's the dream.
Literally, yeah.
Hmm. Well, I mean, you're in New York though, so you probably require a lot more than most people, right? Like I I imagine it's extremely expensive to live there.
It's stupid expensive to live here. My rent, and I have like a shitty little 1 bedroom apartment, is like $1,500 a month, and it's like it's trust me, it's nothing special. Like when I was in Miami for the Bitcoin conference, like $1,500 is like it's expensive in Miami, but it's not like here. It's crazy. I don't actually live in New York City. I live in Jersey, just a little bit outside the city. But in the city, it's even worse. It's crazy. I've got a buddy who had like a railroad apartment. I don't know if you know what that is. It's basically the size of a railroad car. That's what it's called, a railroad apartment.
Interesting.
It's like literally like 5 feet wide, and it's like like 30 feet long. And this kid was paying like $2,600 a month, and he was in Hell's Kitchen on top of a gay bar that like all night long it was just like techno music, and like this he was paying 2,600 a month for that.
Shit.
Yeah, yeah. But he's right in the middle of everything, so it's like everything is right there. Like we were never in his apartment because like we were always doing something.
Yeah, in the middle of everything that's happening.
Right,
That's that's not really a factor up here because there's nothing happening.
right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
See, that's what scares me about leaving.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a culture shock for anybody leaving New York for some sort of hick town where fucking everything's closed at 6 p.m. and nothing's open on a Sunday. And
No, 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 I can't do that. But I love the idea. Like, trust me, like my buddy we've got a place up in like up in the mountains from here that we like run off to every now and then for the weekend. But and I love it. Trust me, like fishing and like hunting and shooting guns and shit. It's wonderful. I just I don't know. Like that's why like I also think like it'd be cool to do like 6 months on and 6 months off in like a New Hampshire like setting, and then come back to like a more tropical city kind of place. Like I don't know. That's the only thing I'm thinking about is like New Hampshire, 6 months off, 6 months on with like Miami or something.
what do you think about Alaska?
Dude, I'd love to check it out. I've never been up there. Everybody tells me it's beautiful.
It's unbelievably beautiful. I went to the Yukon and I did go to Alaska once. I went to this town called Skagway because it's just right next to Whitehorse. But it's unworldly out there, man. It's like a mixture
Huge
between
too.
It blew my mind how long it took to drive there. I thought it was just going to be a drive north, but you go west for 3 days.
Yeah.
Like it was
Yeah.
insane.
That's
And
nuts.
it's beautiful though. It's like so many it's like Switzerland, you know what I mean? Mountains, forests.
It's literally like a third of the entire size of the United States.
Alaska is?
Yeah. Yeah. When I flew to when you fly to Asia, you take the polar flight from New York to Hong Kong, and it takes you over like you don't go like in a straight line. You go like over the North Pole, and we flew over Alaska. And I remember I got to see Denali, which was nuts. I just saw it from the plane, but you could clearly like it's enormous that sucker.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there. Alaska is one of the ones that I think about a lot because I feel like if I ended up in Alaska, I'd still have winter. I'd still be surrounded by people that are more or less similar to the place where I'm leaving. Um, I don't know, man.
And you
Alaska,
get gun rights.
exactly. And you're free from Canada. You're in America, and
Yeah,
that
that
comes
seems like a kind of like a no brainer.
kind of.
What what would be the downside?
I mean, the downside would be that I would likely not do it uh, on the books, so it'd be really difficult for me to travel home and visit like family and stuff. Um, but then again, you guys take legit immigrants, right? I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know, man. It's all fucked up. But Alaska is one that I think about a lot because I mean, New Hampshire sounds nice, but it seems like the wrong direction for me.
Yeah, I mean you're right. You're sort of like right next to Alaska anyway. I think New Hampshire's gun laws. See, the thing is, I don't think Alaska has income tax though. New
Alaska's
Hampshire doesn't either.
pretty sweet. I would like Alaska a lot, I think.
Yeah, everybody who I know who's been there says they love it.
I mean, it was tough, don't get me wrong, living in Whitehorse because the 24-hour darkness and then 24-hour light is something that really, really gets under your skin.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. The winter, the sun never comes up. I mean, it does, but like I had a job where I was working in a factory and, you show up in the morning and you go into this building with no windows. And then at the end of the day, you leave. And while you were at work, the sun came up like a little for a half hour. But other than that, it's just pitch black all the time.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Um, I've been thinking about flying out to Norway uh, just to see for two all. One of the reasons is to go see like the Northern Lights or like that kind of shit. You can't see that up by you, can you?
Yep.
Nice, awesome.
Yeah, we get that sometimes. It depends on I think it's like the sun's radiation or whatever, like magnetism or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It has to do with the solar particles from the sun, like getting like, escaping in past the Earth's magnetic field.
Yeah, so we get it sometimes pretty good. I mean, where I'm at right now, Red Deer, it's this town between Edmonton and Calgary. I don't know if you know where those two are.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so it's like smack dab right in the middle. It's basically a gas station. So we don't really get the Northern Lights much here, but if you just go to Edmonton, which is like an hour and a half north, you get them pretty good. And where I was working up in Grand Prairie, which is like 7 hours northwest on the Alaska Highway, yeah, it's insane. The Northern Lights are amazing.
that's so cool, man. That's one of the things I want to see, like
Bucket
relatively
list.
soon. Honestly, if there wasn't this fucking government shutdown, I'd be flying all over the place because tickets are cheap as hell right now.
Yeah, I mean,
Crazy.
it's insane to think that you could pay $200 for a round trip flight somewhere.
You can pay. So I don't know if you like follow Peter Schiff, but he's like one of my favorite economists to follow.
I've heard of him. Yet.
He's great, dude. His predictions are like on the money. I've made a lot of money following his advice, but he's down in Puerto Rico because he's taking advantage of like the tax laws, and he said that to fly to Boston from San Juan was $3.
What?
$3. That's like it's nothing.
Uh,
That's like less than a bus ticket like that I pay to go to New York. That's what it is. Crazy.
I mean, you hear that and it sounds nice, but then part of you thinks, oh fuck, of course they're gonna have to bail out these fucking companies.
Yeah, I know, I know. You're right, I know. It's like that's no shit. You have to bail them out. They're charging $3 for a fucking flight. Like, what did you think? They're not turning a profit.
I mean, that's kind of one of those industries. It's interesting. Like they can't just fly the plane empty. It's better to have three
They
bucks
do
than
though.
$0.
I heard. I don't know if it's true, but I heard that they're flying empty flights from New York to Tampa and Fort Lauderdale, and they're like flying people back up from Florida into New York because like nobody, I guess like we're hesitant to leave because there's other states actively looking for us, and if they find us, we get put into like 2-week quarantine.
New Yorkers.
Yeah, like the Gestapo.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so like if we fly to Florida, I think like they don't enforce it, but you're supposed to be in quarantine, like self quarantine for 2 weeks.
You know what's so fucked up, man? Canada is still taking flights from China.
Are they?
Uh-huh. I mean, I can't personally verify that, but I was reading that we didn't shut that down. They're still coming into Vancouver.
I mean, the way I see it, like if you're concerned about somebody else having some disease or some contagious illness, stay the fuck home.
Yeah.
Like I'm not worried about it. Don't make me stay home. If you're like if like I see people complaining about like others going outside, and it's like what we were talking about before. It's like, dude, like I'm not worried about it. If somebody else is worried about it, then fine. Like I get it. If I was like 70, diabetes, like overweight, obese, like a smoker and drinker, then I'd be like, all right, yeah, like I'm staying at home. I would be worried about it. But like I'm like young. I don't smoke. I don't drink. Like, I mean, I do drink, but not that often. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not concerned about like dying from the coronavirus. Like, why should my freedom be restricted?
It's an absolutely insane time to be watching. And
I know.
especially in like this liberty circle, because like on the one hand, I completely understand the quarantine and all that. Like, we
As
don't
long as it's
want,
voluntarily, yeah, I do too. I agree with you.
yeah, voluntarily. I'm totally against them forcing you to stay inside and having the right to detain you if you leave your house. And it turns out in Canada, they're not even, well, I mean, I shouldn't say in Alberta, where I'm at currently, they're not doing that. You're allowed, and they would lose if they did try to arrest you. But um, it's not. That's not what's happening in everywhere. Like I've seen people in Texas getting arrested for going to the park with their kid, and like,
But that's exactly it. Like, they would if they could get away with it by you, they would. But they
yeah,
know that it's unenforceable, so they don't even try.
somehow, which totally shocks me. I don't understand how Canada isn't more authoritarian than America, like in any way.
Well, I mean, like you said, though, it probably depends on
Where
where
you're
you're
at,
at. You know what I mean? Like
like
I'm sure like a Canadian city is probably more like Toronto is probably more tyrannical than Wyoming.
I don't count Toronto. That's not count. I put a line. I draw a line straight up Manitoba, and anything east of that, nah, I don't talk about them. They're not part of my country.
It's not even part of the country. I think a
um,
lot of Southerners they still have the Mason Dixon line. Anything north of that, we don't count either. So don't feel bad.
it's similar to that, but up here it's so fucked, man. Like election day 2016 when we re-elected Trudeau, it was crazy to watch because like the way it works in Canada, I mean, and with everywhere else, just the time zones, sequentially from the east to the west. So they vote earlier, and their votes are getting counted by the time we're voting. And just the way it works in Canada is the votes decided before ours are counted every time, man.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So okay. So the votes don't even count. In other words, like
No,
literally don't count for zero.
literally, you can look at a map of Canada, and Alberta and Saskatchewan and like the West will be completely voting blue. So like conservative, in America it'd be Republican. But up here we got like, you know, 5 different parties or whatever. But Ontario, solidly red. And more or less, it's all decided by Toronto's core. Like whatever downtown Toronto votes, that's what we get federally.
That sucks. That
Dude,
sucks.
That's why I want to separate. I want to be out
But
of it.
at least there's no illusions, right? At least the people of Alberta aren't confused, right? They're not like they
Yeah,
know their vote doesn't count for shit, right?
a
You know what
hundred
I mean? Like
percent.
they have to be aware of it.
You're completely right about that. We're not under any sort of impression that
Right.
our federal system works for Alberta. And like you can see it, man. They shut down all of our oil fields. They block pipelines. Like,
Canada's a bit more see the thing that you guys have going for you is like it's a bit more the provinces have a greater degree of autonomy than the states do. And it wasn't supposed to be that way. At least from our end. From America, it was supposed to be the states are a union of sovereign territories who really just agreed that if you get invaded, we'll help you out. But over time, they've lost that sovereignty. You know what I mean? But it seems like in Canada, the provinces, for what it's worth, probably still have more control over their own affairs. You know?
it could be. I mean, this is where I kind of put on my tinfoil hat because I've been listening to a bunch of people that they say that our confederation and our Bill of Rights and all that stuff is invalidated because way back when they were putting all this stuff together, uh, Quebec was Quebec has always been kind of like its own sovereign little nation. Like they have their own prime minister. You know what I mean? Um,
Do they?
yeah, there's a prime minister of Quebec and the prime minister of Canada, and
The Prime Minister of Quebec is like what ceremonial? He doesn't have any actual power, does he? I never heard of that. Not hear about this, and I have a degree in political science. I want to look this up.
it's wild up here the way shit works. And I mean, like, I am not a person with a degree in political science, right? I'm just spewing uneducated. Well, it's not an opinion. It's just uh, unvalidated. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Everyday reality. You live there. You know better than anybody.
Well, I get. I mean, these are. I'm talking like things I've been watching people talk about. But they're saying that Alberta can't leave Canada because technically it was never validly a part of Canada. It's like you can't get a divorce if you were never married. Um, so that puts a whole wrench in the whole separatism thing.
Well, two things. Like one, I'm sure the Canadian government doesn't really give a shit whether or not Albertans think that they can or can't. Right? That's irrelevant as far as Trudeau's concerned. He just wants your money.
100.
Um, you know, the thing about secession, man, is that it relies on the moral restraint of politicians who don't have any. So if Alberta decided, okay, we're not going to be part of Canada anymore, what's to stop Trudeau from sending in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in there to start shooting people and forcing them to tie Trudeau's pockets? You know what I mean?
I mean, you couldn't possibly be talking more accurately because that's what happened. Wexit started to bubble. Everything started to go session aimed, and we got 300 new Mounties coming into Calgary,
It's
and they brought
exactly. See?
they brought armored trucks, like, and coincidentally, he says with finger quotes, they start talking about gun registration and long gun being banned, and like it's all coming back again because
So wait, you guys? Oh, okay. So you guys have like you have private firearm ownership.
100%. But it's different than America because we have to have a possession and acquisition license. I'm not sure if you guys have to do that. I don't know what America's like.
Every
Um,
state's different.
yeah, up here, the whole country is regulated under these possession and acquisition licensing laws. You have to get a restricted license to own a handgun. Um, I took all the courses, but then I never even mailed off the paperwork because it was such a waste of my time. Like if you want to have a restricted firearms license here, like I don't know what you would use it
Hit me
for.
up. Hit
What
me up.
what you mean?
Give me a buzz. I'll send you what you need.
Oh fuck. That's very very appealing. I'm not gonna lie to you. But it's
I'm kidding, of course, for all the ATF agents listening, but
Yeah, alphabet boys, we are not talking in real terms. We're
this is for
being
educational
theoretical.
purposes. Educational purposes only.
100%. Um, it's fucked though, man. If you were to legally purchase like a restricted weapon, so AR-15 or a handgun up here, you have to tell the RCMP when you're taking it out of your safe, and you have to tell them where you're going, and it has to be a range.
What?
Yeah, yeah. They want you to give them location on that weapon at all times.
Out of your safe? What good is an AR-15 in a safe?
Dude, what good is an unloaded handgun with a trigger lock in a safe?
You might as well not even have one. Why would you even have one at that point?
That's what I'm telling you. I took this course, never even mailed it off. What's the point? Fucking dumb.
Okay. Nothing. Let's put it like this: you haven't lost anything in a boating accident.
No, no. I wish I had. When a couple of years back, when I was living in Whitehorse, one of my uncles, he was like this. He was a moose hunter, from the Yukon Territory. So he had these beautiful goddamn rifles, and like big caliber. I'm not savvy enough to know the actual specs. Plus, it was like years and years ago, and I can't remember.
I
But
mean, if he's killing moose, it's got to be something big.
yeah, and he was like, he worked for the Yukon government as like a conservation biologist for like the hunting program. So he was up there,
Oh, he got
and
to play with all the cool toys.
he had all the cool toys, man. But then fucking Stephen Harper or whatever, I can't remember if it was Harper, if it was people before Harper, but one of our iterations of government put out this long gun registration where you had to register these firearms, and somehow the way it worked, these weren't registerable. He had them, and if he was going to register them, the cops would have taken them away and cut him in half or melted him down. And he refused to do that, so he tried to give them to me, and that would have been like losing him in a boat accident. But I was 18 and I lived in a fucking van down by the river, and I couldn't take 10 rifles and just store. I didn't know what the fuck to do.
Oh man, send them to me. Do you still have them?
No, man. In hindsight, that's one of my greatest regrets in my life.
Yeah, those. Yeah, I would definitely wouldn't turn that one down.
Yeah.
any let's put it
If
like
I
this:
could
any
go
black
back.
market. What's that?
If I could go back.
Yeah, any under the table exchange like that I can find. I would, although I haven't ever had the opportunity. If I did ever have the opportunity, I would recommend taking advantage of it.
Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, I should have taken him and just prepared him and buried him somewhere. You know what I mean?
Go for a boat ride. I'm a terrible boater, you know.
Fuck. That was tragedy. Still is tragedy. I hate bringing that up. It just brings me down.
That's how I feel when I talk about the price of Bitcoin. They're like, what do you mean you didn't get rich? You bought in 2013. And I'm just like, yeah, I know.
it
And I remember like,
How have you been doing with this current rocky situation? I haven't looked in a couple of weeks at what my Bitcoin's at. How's it been doing?
I don't even watch the price, to be honest with you. I don't check the price. I'm not one of the like, I know like people in crypto, like they like live with their phones on Coinbase looking at the price like every 5 minutes. I try not to look because I literally don't care. And like my goal is to just acquire. I use it for spending, you know what I mean? But like my goal is to acquire as much of it as possible because I think it's going to go through the roof, you know.
We're sitting at 9,324 Canadian.
Okay.
So it's dropped a bit.
So what's that in US? Like,
I don't know. I'm looking at the chart, and the last week it's gone down a grand.
let's see.
But
It's
like you're saying, it's more important to use it as like as Bitcoin to purchase something rather than to compare it to fiat, right?
right. That's the whole point of it. And that's what drives me nuts is that like, I feel like a lot of people buy it just for the idea of, oh, well, in the future, I'll be able to cash out and get a lot of fiat. It's like, that's not what we're doing here. That's not the point, right? The whole point is that you don't need fiat. You won't. The point is that one day you won't have to have fiat. You know what I mean? That's the whole idea. You know, we were talking about the Silk Road before. That is where we learned what Bitcoin's utility is, right? All of a sudden, you can do peer-to-peer transactions without the need for a third party. Like if you tried to set up a website where I can buy drugs and guns on it, and you're in Alberta and I'm in New York, and we would need a third party to conduct that transaction, something like Visa or a bank to verify that I had sent you the money and that you had received it.
Or
With
like gold
Bitcoin, you don't
coins,
need that. What's that?
or like maybe gold coins.
Even still, you would need a third party, right? You know what I mean? Um, the only the only currency that you can conduct that transaction in without a third party is cryptocurrency. That's what makes Bitcoin so exciting. It's uncensorable. It basically allows people to become their own bank. So to use it as a means to get more central bank notes, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's not what I traded for. I traded, to try to increase the number of Bitcoin, right?
That's the other thing too. Is trading is a great um, counter economic activity. That's a great way to get involved in counter economics because traders perform a very valuable function, right? If the price gets too high, then traders sell, and that brings the price back down to equilibrium. And if the price gets too low, then they buy, and that brings the price back up to equilibrium. So, like, they play a very important role in stabilizing the currency, and we need as many people to do that as possible, especially in cryptocurrency where everything is so volatile.
I was talking to our friend Alex Utopium, and he blew my mind because he explained how a person like Warren Buffett could, like finger quotes around that, because I don't know if that guy has any Bitcoin, but if somebody had a lot of Bitcoin, they could manipulate the price of Bitcoin. And I thought for sure that that wasn't possible because, there's a finite number of Bitcoin out there, and it seems like it's intentionally designed to avoid that. But he explained that it's possible, and that kind of shocked me.
Well, it depends on, you would need, I mean, he's right. He's 100% right. But you would need such a huge, you need such a large control over the network that it's like it's not practical. You would literally have to be, like, I don't think the U.S. government would be able to do it. Like, I don't know what it would require specifically, but it wouldn't be easy to do. The smaller chains, you might be able to attack. It's called a 51% attack. You could probably attack them a little bit more with a little bit more success than like in one of the major chains like Bitcoin or something like that. But it's possible, yeah.
When you say chains, you mean like blockchain, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
You are kind of the resident expert on agorism. So if you could, in like a short amount of time, as few words as possible, if you could explain to somebody that doesn't know what agorism is, what it is all about, could you throw that out there? Not to put you on the spot.
No, no, of course. To me, I think agorism is the absence of politics. It's just the sum total of voluntary interactions. That's agorism. That's the agora. That's the counter economy. um, I tell people that you can define it synonymously with counter economics. Uh, and really, counter economics is just the use of the voluntary black and gray markets to subvert or undermine the coercive red and pink markets. That's all. That's all we're talking about.
What is a red and pink market?
So yeah, there's like 5 different markets. Let me see if I can remember all of them. There's the white market, which is completely legal stuff. There's the gray market, which is like in between. Yeah, right. There's the black market, which is completely illegal, and there is the red market, which is like you know state sanctioned NAP violations, right? So things like
The
war and stuff like
bureaucracy.
that. And then there's the pink market, which you're gonna make me look it up because I can't really recall 100% off the top of my head.
I get what you mean about the red market, though. It's like the bureaucracy, the administration expanding to meet its own needs.
Yeah, right. And that's the whole point is that the larger the black and gray markets grow, the smaller the red and pink markets shrink. You know what I mean?
Interesting. That's I mean, I was trying to explain it earlier today, and I kind of explained it like agorism is sort of an offshoot of anarchy, but it's more like a tactic that you use rather than a principle that you hold. You know, like agorism is when you try to use black and gray markets, like you're saying, to get away from sort of the bureaucracy's control.
Yeah, it's a strategy to achieve anarcho-capitalism. But there are when you put that into practice, there are some everyday differences that arise, right? We don't like the idea of wage work, wage slavery. I don't like to call it work because it's slavery. And the reason why that comes off sounding leftist, but that's not the proper way to take it, because wage workers have a portion of their paycheck automatically deducted by the political class. That's called slavery. Like in the 1800s, plantation owners in the southern U.S. would keep 99% of the slaves' output, right? Here nowadays, the political class keeps like what, 40%. So it's still slavery. It's just not chattel slavery. So we call it wage slavery. We think that in an agora, in a completely free and unmolested economy, there would be a lot less demand for wage work because everybody would be entrepreneurs, right? The whole corporate hierarchy as it exists today wouldn't really, it would have a much more difficult time surviving. Like there would still be a demand for wage workers and low wage salaries. It would just be extremely lessened because there would be more economic opportunities available to people. Like people would be more able to, like, whatever their passions are, they would be able to like accomplish that more efficiently, you know?
Interesting. I I hear that, but on the other hand, I will go be a slave for some wages because it's been, I've been on WCB for years. I need some freaking money.
We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. Look, you know, it's not a matter of like you doing anything right or wrong. It's a matter of the politicians oppressing us, you know? But that's the whole thing too, is like all agorism is entrepreneurial in nature, right? So if you grow crops and you sell them, that's entrepreneurship. If you grow cannabis and sell it, that's entrepreneurship. If you grow cannabis seeds and sell them, that's entrepreneurship, right? Like you can't separate agorism from entrepreneurship, you know. And it makes sense because we know from the economists that, Mises Menger said it the best, and Rothbard too, and Kurzner and Klein and Byland even nowadays. But it's the entrepreneur who moves resources around in an economy. It's the entrepreneur who says, "Hey guys, we need more capital over here or less capital over there." Uh, so if you want to reallocate resources away from the government, you have to be an entrepreneur to do it. You know what I mean? Also, entrepreneurs can minimize not only their own tax burden but that of their employees. So if you are an entrepreneur and you have 5 people working for you, all of a sudden if you say, "Hey guys, from now on I'm paying everybody in Bitcoin," that's huge. That's enormous. You know what I mean? Like that's a big win for the counter economy.
Well,
We don't have that
you'd
yet.
have to make an income in Bitcoin to do that, right?
Well, that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
if you got paid in Bitcoin, that would be a big blow against the state, you know.
How do you feel about what they're saying they're going to make their own crypto?
Good luck. Good luck. You
Yeah.
know, it pisses me off too because this whole digital dollar that they're talking about is such a scam. Like what's going on is that they just need different ways to pump money into the economy because you can't lower rates anymore. They've been like we just got infinite quantitative easing here. And now they're
Zero
doing
percent, right?
0% plus QE plus stimulus checks. I mean, they are doing anything possible to keep this market liquid. I mean, they're fucked because it's not going to work.
No.
But it's just really they're just grasping at straws here.
So would you say that you're in the collapsitarian boat on that regard?
No, no, I think, in my opinion, collapsitarianism is really just a branch of agorism, right? Because in agorism, we believe that eventually there's going to be this final showdown between the state and the agora. It might not be dramatic, it might not go off with fireworks, but there will be a final showdown. You know what I mean? And I think that's what the collapsitarians are talking about.
I'm one of the believers. I think it's gonna collapse. I just, you know, especially being Canadian, my view of what they're able to do is so like they're inefficient, they're inept, and they couldn't possibly not fail. You know what I
See,
mean?
well, anything that the government does, they do backwards and wrong. But that's because they can't calculate economically, so they don't know. It's like they can't plan economically because they're not responding to market signals.
I'm not, you know, super well educated about economics. Like I don't even know what it means that there's 0% interest. I just know that it's not a good thing.
Oh my god, it's awful. You can think about it like an incentive to save, right? If you have 0% interest rates, there's no incentives to save your money. Why would you keep your money in the bank, right? And if you have negative interest rates, you're getting charged to keep your money in the bank. And they do this because they need money floating around the economy. Basically, and I did an episode like 3 episodes back called "The Collapse Is Here," which you should check out. You'd like it, but
I would.
um,
I will.
yeah, no, definitely. But like, just like a brief recap of that would be like Mises's Ludwig von Mises said in the business cycle that if we if in an unmolested economy, there won't be these boom bust business cycles. You won't get these recessions and pullbacks and growth and then pullback. That wouldn't occur. It would just be flat, stable, healthy economic growth. When the central bank inflates, when they print money, when they create money out of thin air, that money finds its way into different sectors in the economy, right? So when the central bank prints it, it goes to the regional bank, and the regional bank cuts loans out to people. So in 2008, these bankers were cutting loans out to people trying to flip houses, and that's what created the subprime housing bubble. Wherever that newly printed money winds up, whatever sector of the economy, it creates a bubble, and all bubbles pop. And when those bubbles pop, you have a recession and the economy pulls back. And really what Mises explained was this is the market's way of trying to clear out all that malinvestment. Right? The recession is the market saying, hey guys, there's too much capital in whatever industry, the mining industry. So we have to pull out some of that capital. And as the capital leaves that sector, people lose their jobs, businesses get liquidated, people declare bankruptcy. It's a painful process, but it's necessary. If you have a friend, everybody who listening to this has a friend who has been on drugs, right? If you're a junkie and you want to get off dope, you have to go through a painful process of like withdrawals. Like that sucks, but you have to do it if you want to get healthy. That's
Or
what a
even people
recession
that
is.
drink too much coffee.
Right, exactly. Like that painful feeling of going without that substance, that's the recession. You have to go through it though to get healthy. On the other side of it, there's growth, there's health, you know what I mean? But like they just keep kicking the can down the road, so to speak.
And it's bound to grow. It is just bound to go.
That's the problem. Like every time, like if you're on dope and you get dope sick, and you decide, oh, instead of going through withdrawals and getting better, I'm going to shoot more dope. The next time you go through withdrawals, it's going to be even harder and worse and worse and worse. It's the same thing with central banking. Every time they print more money to avoid a recession, the next recession, the bubble grows even bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it comes back to agorism, right? And like the agricultural part of agorism. Is there an agricultural component included in agorism?
Absolutely, absolutely. Alex Utopium he is the go-to guy on this topic. He's written a couple articles. Uh, he wrote one called Green Fingered Agorism, There's another. I think it's called guerrilla gardening, but I'll find it and I'll DM it to you after we get off.
I've had him on a couple times. I love talking to him about gardening. We go off.
Dude, he's brilliant. He's great, and he's growing tobacco in Norway this year
Yes, and
for
they're
like
looking good. He's got that set up nice.
he does. Last year we did an episode of the Agora called Urban Gardening. Him and I, and he explained how was doing container planting all throughout his apartment. He basically turned his apartment into a farm. I mean, he was growing all kinds. It was awesome. I love him. He does such good work. It's like great counter economics too.
He's starting up this pamphlet about the whole the collapsible farm where you can take these components basically on your back anywhere and set up like, a decent operations base where you have water and you have all the things you need, right? It,
Actually, when we get off of here, I'm going to be planting. I got like tomato seeds and some other shit I have to plant. So yeah,
well,
yeah.
that's
I mean,
fun.
you have to. Number one, you avoid the FDA's regulations. I mean, I don't know what agency you guys have there, but like here, the FDA makes you like they have all sorts of agricultural guidelines and restrictions that we have to follow. It's all arbitrary. It's meaningless. They just make it up. It comes out of some bureaucrat's ass. That's all. So like you avoid all that, but you also avoid paying tax on that produce.
Exactly. It's like printing your
Yes.
own money.
Exactly. And then
Yep.
it's like I said before, if you can sell it at a farmer's market for Bitcoin or silver coins, you get even extra Agorist points. You know what I mean? So it's like it's one of the best ways to get involved. And people always say to me, "I don't want to go to jail. Like, how do I? Like, what can I do? I don't want to go to jail." I'm like, "Start a
Grow
garden."
lettuce.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
No,
Although, as fucked up as it sounds, that's illegal in some parts of this country.
I believe it. There's places where you have to keep your lawn to a certain height, right?
Yeah, like in Jersey, you can't if you grow crops in your front yard, they'll throw you into a cage. And if you resist a caging, you'll be shot on sight.
So it's so fucked up, man.
you
I can't
know,
I can't remember what put me on that tangent. It was somehow related to agriculture. It's long gone in the ether.
What are you growing though? Because you said you were growing some stuff too.
I could take you on a tour here. Here, give me a sec here. I'll try to figure this out.
Cool.
All right, we got to switch the camera around to the back one. All right. Welcome to my. I mean, it's a fucking mess. I probably should have cleaned up before it's kind
No,
of
you're
my
cool.
little potting table.
Okay.
All right, and so
Nice.
here we got our little. Come on, focus, you motherfucker. Uh,
Cannabis.
yeah, that's black dominant, but it's actually not doing too well. Why? This is so weird. When I move it left, it goes right. Um, I don't know if you can see, but I'm getting some yellow tips.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure what
Um,
that's all about. It was just in a little. Where the hell did it go? Just one of these little things. Um, so I recently put it in this big cloth bag, which should sort out both of those issues because I think there's two possibilities. Frick, it's hard to do this camera because it's backwards. Anyways, there's two possibilities. Yeah, I think it might have been overwatering or under nutrients, and this bigger bag should fix both of those problems at the same time, right? Because
yeah, I was gonna say, I think if the edges of the leaves start to get yellow, I think that means too much water.
yeah, it's almost always overwatering. Um, I've found at least indoors because it's so hard to get your humidity levels to be normal. Anyway, got some pea shoots. I was gonna do microgreens with them, but I've decided to just let them go to maturity and harvest the seeds.
Those boys are tall.
Yeah, they came up like in the last week. They're shooting
Yeah.
up real good. Then we got what do we got in here? We got two kinds of tea. We've got chamomile tea and we got mint tea. And these cells in the front are a bunch of apple seeds. I'm gonna see if I can grow some apple trees.
Wow. Okay. Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Shudra, and he's saying there's so many apple seeds going out that could be the. Oh shoot! I'm just noticing that we're having some problems over here with our rosemary plant. Gotta water that guy. Then we got catnip for the cat,
Nice.
poppies and mint, onions over there, lavender, rosemary, two kinds of ginger. Well, I mean, they're two pieces of the same kind of ginger.
Right, right, yeah.
Uh, just a couple of things of lettuce that I'm regrowing from. This one never went, but you see what it is. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. Now you have enough light in there?
yeah. I mean,
Oh, okay. I didn't see the big eye up top.
I got her set
Okay.
up with two different grow lights. The one on this side has blue, red, and ultraviolet, and that fucking wrong direction. And that one is all white.
Right.
So the white is the full spectrum, and this other one, it's all the components.
Those pea shoots want to get a little bit closer, huh?
Yeah, they're stretching pretty good. I mean, peas generally go pretty tall.
Do they?
I don't have very much time before I got to get these things outside, but I don't know if here. I'll take you outside and show you what the fuck's going on because it is not good. Hey, Laney, how's it going, bud? Anyway, we still got snow.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a blizzard today. Sucks.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
Snow and sun.
I mean, I took a video today where it was coming down big. There was like inch thick chunks of snow coming out of the air.
Oh wow.
Hold on, I
Crazy.
gotta flip this camera around here. So that's kind of like my little tour. I used to have an entire room in the place I was living with my ex turned into a cannabis grow, and like that's what I was talking about earlier with the koi pond and the
Yeah.
hydroponics and all that. But you know, that kind of all fell through at the same time.
The best laid plans, you know.
Yeah, women.
Yeah.
I would never claim to understand.
That's the first sign that of maturity, I think, is when people stop trying to understand women. That's when you know, like they've been through some shit already, you know.
Just it is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
Fuck. It's actually super complicated because this job that I just got called about today, I'm gonna be up in that city where I was living with her, and like I don't even fucking want to see her. But if I'm up there nearby, shit's gonna get super complicated super quickly. I don't know. I'm not
That's
thinking about it.
See, that's like, another plus about living here is that you don't want to see somebody, it's very easy. You just get lost, You
Yeah,
have to
in
go
the
late
crowd.
to find somebody.
Yeah, I mean that sounds appealing, but I don't I don't know, man. I kind of like the small town thing. Like I grew up in Victoria near Vancouver, and so for Canada, that's kind of like a pretty decent sized city. It's like more urban than most. But then when I was 11, my parents got divorced, and so we moved to Alberta. And like I was like the big city kid, moved to like the rural area, and I just I love the rural part. I dove right into that. It's my favorite aspect.
That's awesome. That's great. I'm telling you, man, it's like my dream is to like get out to like New Hampshire and like I don't know. Like I said, we have a place up here though, so it's like I do have that. Like I don't know. It's nice to have a balance, I think.
Urban rural. I mean, it's scary sound in times in New York with all those like they might even not let you leave.
Oh, dude, it's nuts. It's nuts. What pisses me off though is that I can't go anywhere.
Like in
Like
the city?
no, like well that too, because like it's all shut down. It's like life has become like boring. It's like all the good things about living here are out the window now. Like I can't go to any of those places that I used to like to go hang out at. Like I had different like a few bars and places I used to go, and you can't even do that now. So it's like, what am I doing here then? I'm just paying your taxes for no reason. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah, my cost of living is like significantly inflated for what?
For no reason, right? It makes sense if I have all of those different, if I can do whatever I want, then fine. But I can't. I don't have that access right now.
It's pretty interesting watching everybody adapt to being on lockdown because It reminds me of when I fell off the roof and I was stuck at home all those months in bed rest, like not doing anything, just waiting for the world to open up again.
Yeah.
It's really funny watching all of society adapt to it at the same time.
It's insane to me though. Like I don't know how long can this go on for? Like how long can they keep people locked up?
And for what? You know,
Insane.
like as soon as we let people out of lockdown, this thing's just gonna spread. It's not going away. What are they trying to do? Are they going to keep us locked down until they can force us all to vaccinate?
That's the thing. I know. It's like I'm not getting your vaccine. I
No,
don't care if like I don't like it's not gonna happen.
I'm not even going to be in the second wave. I'll wait like a couple decades before I think that thing's safe.
Dude, I will die before I'm serious. I would rather die than have a government injection.
I have never had a flu shot. I've always thought it was so stupid.
I never got it either just because I don't trust the corporate structure to provide something that works. You know what I mean? Like I understand it's not the government per se, but like I don't know. I still don't trust it.
Yeah, and plus, there's so many different kinds of flu. You get a flu shot, you're still going to get flu. What the fuck's the point?
I know, and every year they come out with a new one. It's like
Yeah,
swine flu and Zika and Ebola and bird flu and this flu and that flu.
fucking yeah. No, I'm one of those. Have you heard that George Carlin joke where he was like, "We used to swim in raw sewage."
Yeah, 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 right.
It's like that. You keep your immunity on point.
Yeah, exactly. For real. But like we're young. This is what I understand. It's like we're young. Like we don't have to stay inside. It's the old people. And they're like, oh, you have to stay indoors so the old people don't get sick. It's like, well, how about the old people stay indoors so they don't get sick? It's like we have to like I don't know. I don't know. I don't
I
like to.
honestly don't understand it. Like I watched this thing where it was saying, like up here we got government funded healthcare, so it's like let's not slam that and all that yada 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 government propaganda. But down there it's private, so I don't see how it's the same.
That's the thing that drives me nuts about this government mandated healthcare. And like you see in England, it's like they got the Queen out there giving speeches about how great the NHS is.
Dude, my grandma loved that thing.
It's like, dude, if you need the Queen to come out and say that this particular government agency works well, it works like shit. Like if they have to propagandize it that much, like that's how like pathetic it actually is. You know what I mean?
It honestly blows my mind that people listen to the Queen. Like it's such a fucking mind fuck to even think that in my country you need a piece of paper with the Queen's blessing to do some sort of thing. Like we have a monarchy. What?
Crazy, crazy, crazy. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Although, you know, Hop made the point that in a monarchy, at least the king and queen felt like the land like they owned it. So like they wanted somebody to take care of it. In a democracy, nobody owns it. All land is subject to the tragedy of the commons. So
And
it's like
it's
really what system is better? It's all shit, really.
I hear that, man. That's like the funny downside of the free democratic world we live in. Like by the time the problem is apparent, those people are voted out and there's somebody else in charge, and you try to take it to them and they're like, oh, it wasn't my fault, we'll do what we can. Whereas
Democracy is such a sham. It's like the ability of 51% to vote on the paychecks of the 49% has never made sense to me.
well, gang rape's the will of the majority.
Literally, yeah, literally. That is direct democracy. You know, that's as democratic of an act as you can get.
It's so fucked. And like way back when, if your lord was mismanaging his land and everybody was starving, they just went and they fucking killed the guy. And
Yeah.
that's direct responsibility.
Talk about local property enforcement.
It's funny.
But
It makes you like wonder, like, how is it possible that we live in a world where 400-year-old feudal systems almost outcompete. You know, like in certain ways they sound
In a
slightly
lot of ways,
appealing.
in a lot of ways, we still have feudalism. You know,
Yeah.
there's another article on New Libertarian called Digital Feudalism. It's all about how like these major tech firms have basically replaced those feudal lords. You know what I mean? Like the same way that you would farm and give your production to the lord of the manor, and he would give you enough scraps to survive. Don't we do the same thing with content from like Facebook and like our personal data that Amazon collects and stuff like that? Like they sell that data and make money from it, and then they give us like scraps. Like we don't even get anything. You know what I mean? And the whole point of the article is that like tokenization is going to change that. Like you see like the social media network Minds. Like I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they reward you with tokens uh, based on the popularity of your content. So with Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, if you post something that's popular, it goes viral. Mark Zuckerberg profits. On Minds, you profit because you retain ownership via vis-a-vis the tokenization of the content.
It's kind of like Brave.
Yes, yeah, exactly, sort of. I mean, it's a good analogy. In other words, like the whole feudal system. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean we're just serfs, you know.
Yeah, literally.
We're amusing ourselves talking about it, but really, what can we do? Apart from agorism, that's where the agorism comes in. It's the power of the serf.
Literally, we like the agorist is like, and it's funny because there's a book by Hop again. Hop, I think it's called like a theory socialism. I'll get it wrong, of course, whatever it is. I think it's a theory of socialism and capitalism, but he goes over. I want to say it's the fourth chapter. He goes over how that feudal system ended, and what's interesting is that the merchants who traveled around the world, they didn't respect borders because they were traders, right? They were trading silk from China with merchants in like Venice, you know what I mean? So like it was those merchants crossing the borders conducting trades illegitimately that forced that feudal system to end and collapsed it. So it was the free market that stopped the feudal system. So like how appropriate that agorism is stopping the present feudal system. You know what I mean? Like here we are again, 1,000 years later, the whole of human society is depending on the counter economists to free them. You know,
That's a really interesting relation I hadn't thought of because that's also what happened in Rome, right? The merchant
in
class
Malevo,
gained more and more power, and they eventually overtook the political power of the old aristocracy, right?
it happened in the Soviet Union, right? Counter economics freed the Russians from the Soviets. Like if anybody's listening out there, Google real quick Nalevo, Nalevo, and like you'll see like that was the term they used for counter economics. In India, uh, Gandhi used counter economics to bring the British Empire to its knees, and he never fired a shot. He didn't raise a fist, and the most powerful empire in history came crumbling down. Right? There's no Raj anymore. The British aren't in India anymore. That's all because of counter economics. You know.
I didn't know Gandhi used counter economics.
Oh yeah, there's he called it satyagraha, uh, and essentially what the British did was they threw a huge tax on salt because it was like very popular in like Indian cuisine and stuff like that. So Gandhi said, "All right, everybody, come on, let's go," and they marched to the ocean, and it was illegal. It was kind of you couldn't get salt from the ocean because it was illegal. That's exactly what Gandhi did, uh, and every Indian around the whole country started taking jugs of salt water and boiling it down and getting salt. And that's how the British Empire collapsed in India.
Interesting. I've heard of the Salt March. I just didn't know it was about that.
Yeah, yeah, literally. And that's like the same exact philosophy that we're trying to use with agorism to take the state down because we think that's the only one that stands a chance of working.
It seems like the most productive no matter what the end result is. You know what I mean? Like even if the the vampire state keeps lurching along, if you live in a counter economic sort of bubble, it hasn't got as much of an effect on you.
But that's the whole thing. Once you've accepted agorism, you have instantaneously liberated yourself. Like the debate has ended, right? Like it's over. We're not sovereign citizens, like in the sense that we're going to take a license plate off of our car and ride around.
Yeah,
Um, but
that
we
I
try,
don't really understand all that.
but we will try to bribe a cop to get that out of the ticket. Like that's the difference. you know. So I mean, like we're not like openly defiant. We're like under the table defiant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like if I tried to bribe a cop, that would go badly for me. I have a very punchable face.
So do I. You know what the trick is? Here's the trick to bribing cops for everybody. Okay, you take the 50. Nowadays, you need 100 because they get paid more. And used to work better down south back in the day. Take the 100, and when they ask you for your license, you have the 100 in the back of your license curled up. You hand everything at once to them, and they look at the $100 bill. Some of the good ones, or not the good ones, the ones who are bad and won't get bribed, are gonna look at the $100 like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hand that to you. Give me that." The
Whoops.
good ones are put it in your pocket. Say, "All right, have a good day." It's okay, officer. Thank you. You know.
Dude, if I had done that, I would be a lot better off. My freaking vehicle insurance is out of this world. I pay like 7 grand a year just for insurance.
What? What are you driving? A Rolls Royce?
No, man, it's a fucking 1500 Dodge truck. It's not even special
Why is it so much?
because when I got out of the wheelchair, I was a little bit speed happy, you know? I kind of got a bunch of speeding tickets all in like a 4 month gap. And they didn't like that.
Still, that sounds a little high.
Dude, it's really excessive. I honestly it's insane. I haven't been able to drive for a while, but coming up here, I'll be able to get that dealt with, hopefully.
Dude, my insurance is like 5 or 6 grand, and I'm like in the most densely populated part of Earth.
Yeah, man. I was up in Grand Prairie where there's like more grizzly bears than people.
And that was what your insurance cost up there?
Yeah, 7 grand a year.
There's nothing to even hit up there. Like, what are you gonna run into?
I
You
know, man. Fuck you. You drunk drive, and the worst that could happen is you hit a fucking moose.
know? Yeah, well, like that would suck. Those things are like fucking refrigerators.
Dude, that's why it's the worst that could happen. And it's also those legs keep them at your windshield, so it goes straight in the vehicle.
Oh man, that's not fun.
Yeah, I
I'll
mean,
kill you.
oh yeah, moose kill more people in Canada than anything else, I think.
Wow. What? Just by car accidents though, not like through like attacking them.
They do attack though.
No shit, do they?
Yeah, man, in the rut when they're all breeding crazy, a male moose will just kill you for fun. They'll just stomp you into the ground if you exist.
But like, who the fuck's trying to get close enough to a moose where you can get stomped into the ground?
Some
If
idiot
I
that's
see a moose, I'm going the other way. You know.
well, most of the time I'm not afraid of a moose, but I know when the rut is. And if they're in the rut, I am going nowhere near a moose.
Right.
Yeah, a moose is the most dangerous animal in Canada. A lot of people don't know that.
No shit.
Most of the time you're good, but there's a certain time where you see a male moose, you better get the fuck out of there.
See, in America, the most dangerous animal is a congressman. So if I see
Yeah,
them, I run too.
that's a good point. It's hard to compare anything to a human. Humans are always the worst, you know. We are the monsters.
Politicians, more specifically, even. I trust my fellow man. I trust a neighbor or something like that. I don't trust an elected official as far as I can throw them. You know,
Agreed. I couldn't agree with that more. Fucking, politics up here is such a laugh.
crazy.
So I showed you my grow. No aquaponics going on yet, but working on it. And yeah, it's fucking snowing, so I can't really put anything outside yet. So it sucks. I started these seeds too early. I'm in kind of like a purgatory here.
Yeah, but I don't know. I have a friend who starts really early too, and he swears by it because I guess like, well, I guess it all depends on what you're growing too, though. Like he does tomato plants, and like I guess even if the tomato plant gets big, you can bury that stem, and it just creates more roots and makes a healthier plant. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like sometimes it probably would be beneficial to like do it early.
definitely. A lot of things, like onions, uh, some sorts of. I mean, peas are not a very good example. Peas you can put directly outside and they'll grow real quick, and there's no real big deal. I I, sh-
Corn,
I shouldn't
corn,
even. Yeah, corn. Corn is a good example. You want
yeah.
to get a good head start.
All the corn I've ever grown though is like I don't know why I always get like bugs, and I don't like the spraying
Pesticide.
pesticides and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, freaking pests, man. I lost a whole crop of cannabis to spider mites last year.
See that though, I had that too, but I found like some organic compound spray bottle thing, and it cleared it up.
I fucked up. I had a bunch of outdoor plants that like the snow fell and they didn't finish. So I brought them inside to dry out because I was gonna make like stem and leaf tea and all that stuff. But when I brought them inside, the bugs all hatched, right? Because they put
Oh
their eggs
no!
on this shit to survive the winter. And I bring them indoors where it's all nice and warm. And they're like bonus, and so they spread to my inside grow. And
Oh no!
there was no coming back from that. I just hacked it all down.
Yeah, you have to at that point.
Yeah,
Oh
spray
yeah, that's
everything.
the worst.
I was choked. Those were big plants.
That sucks. Yeah. Like, I wonder how that even happens. Like, I've had that on indoor grows where you get the spider mites, and it's like, how the fuck do you guys even get in here?
I mean, they come in from outside. If you bring in an outside plant, that's an obvious one. But like, on your dog, I don't know, man. Fucking spider mites are a nightmare. I fucking hate spider mites.
I think that happened to me with like soil. I think I had to be this. I was doing a soil grow indoors, and like it was bad, bad, bad. And I had like a bunch of plants, and like they spread all over the place.
Yeah, fucking pests, man. That's
No.
that's one of the hardest things about growing indoors. Because when you're growing outdoors, you got natural predators, right? But indoors, a pest can just claim a territory.
You know what I've learned? It's like I said, I grew corn outside, and dude, I had no success. I mean, I grew the corn, but every time I opened up, it was just full of bugs. You know what I mean? It was
Eh,
awful. So it's like someone told me though, if you plant like just regular flowers,
marigolds.
yeah, like that'll help get them away.
Yeah, companion planting is it's
Yes,
definitely
right.
next level. Uh, Marigolds are good. They keep away a lot of pests. They keep away cats. Yeah, marigolds are really good. I think Alex Utopium's growing marigolds, if I remember correctly,
Okay.
from what he was showing me, which is clever because they will keep his tobacco plants clean.
No shit.
Yeah, fuck. I love talking about gardening, man. It's my favorite topic.
I know, I know. I can tell you, I can go all day on it.
That's too bad you lost that corn. Um, we can't really grow corn here. It gets too cold too quick.
How long do you have? How long is the growing season?
Uh, I mean, in a couple weeks, hopefully we'll get clear of frost danger, because it's gonna be May coming up here. I don't know, middle of May to middle of July-ish is like solid, but that all depends on your growing degrees, right? Like last year, our summer was garbage. We had just rain all summer, and it never really went above 15 Celsius, which is like, I don't know. I have no idea what that is in American. But it all depends on like how many days in a row you get where your temperature hits that degree where the thing can actually produce really well. And last year we had none.
Well, I mean, May to July is like that's like barely enough time to grow beans.
Uh-huh. Well, we do what we can. We grow like cold hardy crops, kale and spinach, and
Okay, yeah, okay.
like potatoes do really well. Um, I don't know. that's that gets straight back to agorism, where it's like you got to use technology to overcome the psychotic environment, and so most of that means you got to go indoors, right?
Dude, I paid like $100 for it or something like that, but I have like one of those big ass grow tents. Um, I you just like I have like a giant fucking full spectrum light hanging from this sucker. I have to order the fan, like the intake and outtake, like to get
Yeah.
the air moving. But other than that, like the only thing I'm missing is the fan. But like that makes indoor growing a hell of a lot easier, you know. What some of
I found that the fan is extremely key because the way it works is indoor grows usually suffer because of vapor. Like there's this thing called VPD. It's like vapor pressure something. I don't remember what it is, but in in dummy language, it's like your plant exhales all this water vapor in the nighttime, and if that builds up and doesn't get vented, it will stunt your growth, and it can actually it'll put your plant significantly behind schedule, even if it doesn't, cause like mold issues and all that.
that
So
makes sense a lot, actually. That makes sense. My concern was always like the smell.
yeah,
Like I didn't want to run fans because I like the idea of the smell staying in the tent. But
that's a whole
um,
nother level because it's illegal there, eh?
yeah, right.
Yeah,
I could run see, I'm in an apartment though too. So I mean, I'm on the lower floor though, so I could probably vent right into the crawl space, you know, blame it on the neighbor.
I mean, you could get one of those carbon filters but I don't know. Just go for a strain that's not super stinky. You know what I mean? Just don't grow skunk.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, honestly, I have a hard enough time finding seeds around here. That's why, like, every time I get a little bit of bud, I'm like searching through it for seeds. But
It's too good these days.
I
It's hard to
know,
get weed with seeds.
I know, it's crazy. Back in the day, it's like that's all I could find. Now I can't find it without seeds, you know. But I normally grow like shit I can eat. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
my whole outdoors is like I've got a really nice blackberry bush, and this sucker like went wild. And I love like berries and shit. You know what I mean? So I've got a nice little strawberry patch. I've got a huge blackberry bush, and then I do like uh, I drink tea a lot, so I
yeah.
grow lavender and I grow chamomile, and like that's my tea consumption.
That's what I'm growing too, just for tea.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I love growing tea plants. I
Yeah,
got
it's
mint,
great.
chamomile, lavender, all that.
Mint is wild though because I've learned that if you plant mint in the ground, that is it. You're done. Like
Oh yeah, it's gonna spread like insane.
you're never getting that sucker out. Like
No,
that's it.
it's as bad as bamboo.
Yeah, really, it is. You're exactly yes. It's crazy how it spreads like that. But I drink so much tea that I don't mind. You know,
Yeah, I love mint, man.
me too.
One of my
Problem
favorites.
was I went out there one day and I see my cat like chewing on the mint leaves, and I'm like, dude, I'm supposed to eat that. I'm supposed to use that for tea. What are you doing? You know,
That's why I'm growing that catnip. Keep keep my
keep him
frickin'
occupied.
keep that cat away from those weed plants.
Here, this is yours and this is mine.
Exactly. I'm happy this way, but if you
Yeah.
screw this up, man,
Oh man, that's funny.
because I'm seriously worried that he's gonna just chew the top off of that plant while it's still young. Little bastard of a cat.
What kind of plant? Oh, what kind of plant though? The
That
cannabis
that
one?
little weed plant, yeah.
Oh, you should be all right, right? I mean, I don't know.
I
I
mean,
never had an issue with a cat chewing on my plant.
he should be fine. I just hope he doesn't get any taste for it, because it is kind of like, you know, minty smelling.
Right? Yeah.
It's close. It's kind of close to something you'd think a cat would eat.
Hmm. Interesting about that marigold thing too. They keep cats away. I didn't know that. I'll have to
Yeah,
look into
cats hate the smell of marigolds, and a lot of people plant marigolds because cats shit in their garden.
that. Right? Yeah.
So if you plant marigolds, the cats fuck off.
No. Okay. Yeah. 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 Okay. That makes sense.
Uh,
Huh.
what's that one that the mosquitoes don't like? It's like it's not eucalyptus.
Citronella.
That one.
Yeah.
Marigolds are like citronella for cats.
Right. 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 Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I know people who grow citronella like on their back patios and stuff, like where they entertain like guests and stuff, to like keep them away. You know.
I love citronelle. It smells really good.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, I like all plants really.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm with you. I like berries. If I could have like, pipe dream, 5 acres of land with a cabin on it, I'd have a berry farm. I'd have strawberries and blueberries and basically every berry that can grow around here going.
I did blueberries one year, but I didn't have any success.
They like cold.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Well, I mean, they're more native around here, you know.
Okay. See, I literally went to like the garden center, bought a blueberry plant or like a couple of them, stuck them in the ground, and watched them die in agonizing death over like the next 2 months. I was like, what am I doing wrong? So,
Tragedy.
somebody was like, you got to take pine needles and like use it to mulch the blueberry bush because I guess they like that. I
Acidic
don't know.
soil. Yeah, that's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Blueberries love acidic soil. So
Oh, okay.
if you had mulched with the pine needles, it would have brought your pH really acidic. Um,
Makes
but
sense.
I don't know. There's so many layers of like that's kind of why I started this podcast because I just love talking about horticulture. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I like, I've spent a lot of time looking into it. So I know some things and other people know other things and I like mashing them together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like it's one of my favorite. It is my go-to when people say, "How can I get involved in counter economics?" Like the first thing I say is like grow a garden because that's once they do that successfully, then they start thinking to themselves, "Wow, I like this DIY, do it yourself, like liberation, like counter economic, like liberate yourself kind of thing. What else can I do?" And then you're like, oh, well, did you know you can not only can you grow your own food, you can make your own money. Like what? Make my own money? Yeah, get yourself a blockchain miner. Did you know that you can make your own guns? Get yourself a 3D printer. You know what I mean? Like, and it really doesn't end from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good way to get into the rabbit hole.
There's two. Herb Byland, who's an agorist and he's an economist at the University of Oklahoma. He breaks counter economics down into horizontal and vertical counter economics. So there's two strategies there. The first is like creating a local production facility, like a 3D printer or like a blockchain miner, right?
Or a
And the
garden.
second, yeah, exactly. The second would be the second aspect of that. The vertical aspect is like just voluntary peer to peer exchange, just you know mutual beneficial trade. And what he says is if you combine those two aspects of counter economics, that's when we have the most power, right? That's the most effective strategy to fight the state. Per Byland wrote that in 2006. That was before Bitcoin. That was before 3D printing. You know what I mean? Like even the Silk Road, like that's another good example, like of like vertical counter economics. You know what I mean? Here you have Ross creating this site where they can trade, and then you have people using it, for that exact same purpose. So it's like if we can combine those two strategies, we're almost undefeatable, you know. But like, yeah, we were just talking about counter economics, so I threw that in.
How how much does it blow your mind to think about all those people that spent like 10 bitcoins on like a gram of hash back in the day on Silk Road? You wave your hand.
That's me. You're talking about me, bro. I lived that life, bro. It was awful. It keeps me awake at night.
Thinking of how much like,
Dude,
yeah,
oh my God. I stare at the ceiling when I'm laying in bed and I'm like, you moron.
it's like it would be worth a house now, right?
Dude, I would spend whole Bitcoins on pizza and weed.
Oh my God.
Yeah. When I went to Pork Fest in like I don't even know, 2014, 2015, something like that.
Back in the day.
Yeah, it was, dude, I brought like 8 or 9 Bitcoins with me because that's what they used to trade and like a roll of silver coins. And like 8 or 9 Bitcoins like 2 years ago, you're talking like almost 200 grand, So it's like, I don't know. I can't complain. I made a shit ton of money. But what I would do is like, I did it differently. Like I said, I use it to spend.
Yeah.
That's my everyday currency is cryptocurrency. So I'm buying coffee with it every day. You know what I mean? I'm buying groceries with it and stuff like that. I'm paying gas and everything. So I would buy a Bitcoin for like $75. It would go to 250, and I would say, "Look how smart I am! Like I just tripled my money. Look at me! I'm so smart, you know." And I would spend it on pizza and weed and shit. And then 3 years later, I wanted to like jump off the George Washington Bridge, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
like back in 1918 when all those bankers were jumping off roofs.
yeah, right, right.
Fucking the regret.
Crazy.
That's funny you say that because, I've been saying that. It's like those people out back in the day on Silk Road, they traded like $50,000 worth of Bitcoin.
More, more,
More. Much more.
more, more. I didn't want to think about it. I got
Yeah.
a friend. He used to use Silk Road all the time to buy and sell things, and he he didn't really care about Bitcoin. He just wanted to do drugs, and he put a whole bunch of Bitcoin into escrow, bought a bunch of drugs, did them, got arrested, cleaned himself up. 2017 comes around, everyone's talking about Bitcoin again, and he's like, "Oh, let me go check those wallets." Dude, he had like $40,000 just laying around that he just found.
Wild.
I went back, checked all my wallets too. I had like, a couple grand, but nothing like, it wasn't like life changing sums of money, you know. And I had to scrape it up from different wallets. He had everything on one like browser.
It makes you wonder who kept all those Bitcoins, Like some dealer out there got a lot of Bitcoin.
Well, I mean, Ross had the most. After Satoshi, it was Ross because it was the only place you could use them at the time. Like people forget back in the day, like the early days of Bitcoin were much, much different. Like we didn't know what it could do. It was just this weird novelty that just existed. And then Ross showed everybody what it could do. He's like, all right, guys, I'll give you an outlet where you can spend these, where you can use them as currency. And that's what everybody did. And once that happened, it was like, you know, everybody flocked to that website. So Ross was like, when they arrested him and the FBI kept his money, they were like billionaires.
They
If
kept
not
it
million.
Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, they kept it. There was like a scandal that the FBI agents were like sending the Bitcoin to themselves. Yeah, there was like 2 or 3 agents who went to jail because they got caught stealing Ross's Bitcoin. And now the federal government has stolen all of Ross's Bitcoin. That's why they say the federal government is one of the largest holders of Bitcoin in the world because it's all Ross's money that they've stolen.
No way.
Yeah. He's like the third or fourth largest holder of Bitcoin, Roger Ver from Bitcoin.com, because he was also like one of the first entrepreneurs to accept payments in Bitcoin. And he was smart enough to hang on to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it paid off.
Do you imagine in the future that places like Amazon will take Bitcoin and all that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't think they're going to have a choice. Already, we start to see it. Microsoft will already take Bitcoin. Overstock.com takes Bitcoin. Tiger Direct. What's that website in China? Tiger Direct.
AliExpress, that thing?
I don't know. There's a couple of them though, but
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
number of sites now that take it, and it's growing every day. But I think that the problem is like there was a split between Bitcoin BTC and then Bitcoin BCH,
Yeah.
Bitcoin Cash, and like that was the whole issue is that Bitcoin BTC became unusable. You can't really use it in currency exchange the same way that you could back in 2010. Like the fees are much higher. Like it's like very restrictive now. If you wanted to conduct an on-chain transaction, especially when the network gets congested at like peak congestion, your fees are astronomical. You know what I mean? You don't have that problem with these larger blocks, the chains that have larger blocks, because they can fit more data into one block. You know what I mean?
I wish I knew what you meant. You mean because Bitcoin Cash has so many more, like certain units of
So like a
token?
blockchain is basically you can think of like the block in a blockchain as like a stack of checks, and all it is just a number of transactions that have occurred on the Bitcoin network, and then a miner comes along, validates that block, and says, okay, these transactions are true, they actually happened, and it gets chained on to the next block. Um, the problem is the the initial in the white paper, Satoshi's initial white paper included a hard cap on the size of the block. I can't, of course, I can't think of it right now. I'm like drawing a blank,
Yeah,
which is,
I'll take your word for it.
I know this number, like, but anyway, um, when the network became big and congested, they said, okay, guys, we have to raise the block size a little bit. And some people were like, no, 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 we got to keep it at that hard cap. And that stayed BTC. The ones who were like, no, we should increase it a little bit, that became Bitcoin Cash. And that functions perfectly well. Like, transactions are basically instant, they're basically free. It's like less than a cent to make a transaction. Whereas Bitcoin BTC is like not like that still. And then even from there, there was another fork, Bitcoin Cash, forked into Bitcoin SV, who has like stupid high, enormous blocks with, you can fit all kinds of stuff. You can fit whole albums and movies onto that blockchain, which is the problem, right? Because if you're a miner and I don't like you, I can upload kitty porn to the blockchain, and guess what? I can call the cops and say, hey, he's got kitty porn in his house. They come in, they look at your server. Any server mining BSV is hosting kitty porn at that point. That's the problem with having those huge blocks.
Yikes. That's a
Eventually, you might have like AI be able to filter out shit like that, but we're not there yet.
that's a totally unpredicted danger, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
of a currency that you could get framed for child pornography.
Well, that's the thing. When the blocks get to be that big, it's almost like not even a currency at that point, right? Because like then you could fit so much information on there that it's more like a database. Although any blockchain essentially is a database, it's just that a normal blockchain can't. The only data it can't. The only amount of data it could store, it would have to be something small, like just like a transaction, like 50 cents to Josh. Like that's the amount of information that you can store in a database as small as a normal blockchain. Whereas these huge blocks, you can store anything in there, and they do. Like that Joe Rogan episode with Alex Jones. You remember that episode? It was like fucking phenomenal.
Legendary.
Yeah, it was legendary. Some genius put that on the BSV blockchain. So now that'll be there forever. Forever, it's going to be there.
Wow.
Like forever, you'll be able to go onto the blockchain and look up that block number and look it up.
Joe, I'm kind of retarded.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to be honest with you. I made so many memes from that video. Like, and whenever you see the Alex Jones memes where he's wearing the NASA shirt, I made that format. Actually, me and the Empress of Me made it together. So I shout out to Empress because she helped me.
Mel,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's a wild world we're treading in, you know? Like I would never have expected to be making a podcast with Sal Mayweather, you know? But
yeah. I know.
here we are talking about growing weed.
Yeah, right, right. Now, how did you get into like the whole Liberty movement? Like, what's your story, your origin story?
My origin is I mean, I've always been kind of a fuck you attitude sort of person, you know? Like anti-authority. Um especially like being Canadian, right? Because you know the authority here is so socialist, and my family's my background is fairly not socialist, I guess you would say. Um, but then you know I was never political. I was always just going about my day. But when I fell off that roof and I broke both my legs at the same time, I had some serious downtime to kill, and I spent a large majority of that just watching shit on YouTube, like some dude in his workshop doing blacksmithing, or some guy setting up a greenhouse, or you know, you name it, whatever would pique my interest. Because I, you know, 24/7 just sitting in a wheelchair is pretty damn boring. Um, and then I found this maniac called Owen Benjamin. Don't know if you know about him. Uh, and he was pretty cool back in the day, like 2016 era. He would play the piano and he was a comedian. You like the live stream chat would like fill in lyrics, and we would write these songs about like you know Trump and all this bullshit going on in the world, and it was awesome. But then that kind of went like insanely culty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and so I bailed. But that it put me into this weird like I wasn't one of them, but I wasn't one of them. You know, I didn't know where I lined up, and I found a whole bunch of the people from that group that I agreed with the most uh, lined up with anarchy, and so I kind of jumped into the anarchy Twitter world, and that led me straight to agorism and collapsitarianism.
Yeah, we the agorists have like a dominant presence on social media. Like I feel like we're slowly becoming the dominant faction in the liberty movement, which was never the case. It was always like this the Libertarian Party, constitutionalists, like those guys always ran the show. But like last like 5, 10 years, it was the Austrians, and now I feel like we're starting to gain the upper ground now. You know,
It's just logic, and it
it
also
is.
works really, really well with the times. You know, like is I couldn't think of a better time to start growing your own food than now.
Yeah. Or you know what? Honestly, around here, like it sucks. It was just winter, but like now, like we've been telling everybody to prep for this moment. Like like now is now. Like it's now. You know what I mean?
It,
It's like
it's happening.
yeah, right, exactly. Like you're too late if you're like just getting started. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. All those
I
people
don't want
working
to
on
discourage
toilet paper.
anybody. Yeah, right, exactly. Like I would never discourage anybody from like getting involved in like the counter economy, but do it now. Do it now because like we're getting to the deadline where it's going to be too late. You know,
It's
like
wild to think about, man. I cannot picture the world in 4 months in any way.
that's why I tell people like, dude, number one, like you need get everybody should have a 3D printer now because like let's say they come door to door collecting guns, fine, take them. Go ahead. You can take my guns. I have that as long as I have that 3D printer, I will always have the ability to in less than a day, I can have like a good solid rifle. You know what I mean? It's a good solid gun. That's number one. Get a 3D printer. Number two, I tell people become your own bank, right? Use precious metals to save and use cryptocurrency for exchange. You know what I mean? And then, just whatever you can do to get yourself off of the central banking addiction, do it. And then the third thing I tell people is grow your own food, because if your enemy is controlling what goes into your body, you're not winning. You know what I mean? Like that's too much control the enemy has over you. And we see it every day. Like if they want to, they'll poison you. They put fluoride in the water here, and like they say, "Oh, don't worry, it's for your teeth. It helps with cavities and stuff." It's like, well, you know what, motherfucker? If I want to take medicine, I'll make that choice. Like, you can't medicate people without their consent. So it's like grow your own food, become your own bank, and secure your right to arms. And like once you do those three things, what the fuck are they going to do to you? Like nothing. You know what I mean? Like you might have to pay a $20 ticket here and there, but that's it. They can't do any major oppression. You're not paying the inflation tax. You're not going to let you're not getting onto a boxcar, and you're
Yeah.
not eating you're not eating shit. You're not eating their poison. You know what I mean? Like you can feed your family. So it's like those are three huge key things.
And you separate yourself from the whole chain, you're your own little island, whereas when it starts to break apart, you keep functioning.
Right. And like there's other agorists out there who do the whole homesteading thing,
Hmm.
which I have just a tremendous amount of respect for these people because that's a lot of work. And
Yeah.
I dream of doing it. Like they build their own cabin on those like concrete elephant feet.
Yeah.
They build like their own water towers to make it water pressure. I mean, and like they have it down to a science. You know what I mean? It's like by the end of the day, for like 20 grand, they have like a house up and running in the like a little cabin in the woods. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Off grid,
Yeah,
self-sustaining. That's the dream, man.
yeah, I know.
That ties in really well with permaculture. um I kind of I feel like agorism and permaculture are twin, not if not twins, they're closely related.
How so?
Well, like permaculture is it's pretty agorist by its like nature. It's trying to design these systems that are self-sustained and don't rely on external input. And agorism is
Right.
that in a nutshell, except you're intentionally avoiding one external input, not all external inputs. You know what I mean? Like the government, that's the one you're
Right.
trying to avoid. But permaculture, it's you're just trying to avoid all of that. You're trying to be your own supply chain.
Well, I mean, it's like Sam said, no one counter economic act will be sufficient to achieve the agora, but all of them combined will provide enough pressure.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
The holistic approach.
right? So it's like, yeah, like don't get discouraged because like one, like don't think to yourself, oh well, just me growing my own garden isn't going to stop the government. Like, no, it's not, but it's going to help the agora. It's going to help the counter economy. And it's going to encourage other people to do the same thing. You know,
100%. And it's it's terrifying to live in this world where all of these like it seems like common sense and it seems like stone age common sense, like way back in the caveman days, but we're just rediscovering it. Like I was talking to Shudra and they're discovering that if you just dig a hole in Africa, it will that'll hold moisture and it'll increase the ground moisture. And like this is not very space age shit. You're digging a hole in the dirt with a stick. It doesn't matter. But I don't know. It's wild to be in 2020 and to be approaching this with like, how can I raise sheep and trees and berries and all that? Like, it's a
that's
weird
the
time to be alive.
see, like it makes sense though because excuse me, if you look at like the whole trajectory that the political economy is on, it's all like tends towards decentralization, right? Like that's the defining feature of the whole march of progress is that it's all breaks down to individual autonomy. What is a 3D printer if just like the empowerment of the individual? Same thing with Bitcoin or anything we're talking about, like aquaponics, like the internet, Airbnb, shared services, Uber. It's all about empowering individuals. You know what I mean? At the expense of the collective, and that's because that's just entropy. It's just like physics. It's like the laws of nature. It's like the law, like entropy is just the natural tendency for things to tend towards like chaos and disorder.
Yeah.
Like that's just all. That's what's happening with the economy as well.
The decay.
Right. Now that's why sometimes I put on Twitter like the future is privatized, decentralized, and tokenized because it's true. It's true.
That's a good line.
Yeah, I get a lot of retweets on that one.
Man, your memes make me laugh.
Dude, the memes are the great because they keep me sane. If it wasn't for the memes, I would lose my mind.
Do you spend a lot of time making memes?
Dude, I don't spend as much time nowadays as I used to. I'd say now I probably make only like 15% of the memes at this point. It used to be a lot more, but now like I steal most of them. Uh, Also, the other problem too is I get so much space on my phone. It's taken up from memes that I don't have. Like I can't like the normal apps I use to make memes is like hard to keep in my phone. Like I usually use like Pixar, Video Shop, Memetics, or like the three apps like any decent shitlord has. But I don't even have room for those on my phone because of all the memes I've stolen are taking up all the
Yeah,
room. My whole phone is just for memes. It exists not to contact me, just for memes.
that's awesome, man. I steal 100% of my memes. I don't know how to work Photoshop and all that.
Me neither. Me neither. I try out Pixar is a good one. That's the best app you're gonna need right there. And also Mimetics is a nice, stupid, simple one.
PixArt. Like Pixar with a T at the end, eh?
Yeah. No. No. Picsart.
Oh,
Yeah, not like Jobs is Pixar.
is that Steve Jobs?
It was, wasn't it?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think he bought Pixar. I think maybe one of your listeners can correct me, but I'm pretty sure.
Who knows? I saw a funny thing about Pixar the other day where it was Pixar gives all of the moms just dumpster truck asses.
Oh, really? Does it really?
I mean,
Oh, Pixar, like the animation company.
yeah, Pixar. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the mom from The Incredibles. I'm trying to think of others, but it
That's
checks
funny.
out. It checks.
That's funny. Well, good. I don't want to have, ugly cartoon characters to look at, right?
I mean, it makes a little bit of sense. How do you differentiate an animated female versus a male? You make them a different shape, you know?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, they make, real life models, they've taken away uh all the positive features and replaced it with like fat ugly chicks, so
This is part of that pop culture where I'm happy to be in a hick town where I'm not keeping track. Like,
oh
she,
yeah, you guys don't see that? Okay.
I don't know if I were to pick a model, she'd look like Barbie.
Right. See, like it makes me sick, but like they'll put fat chicks in their underwear in fucking Times Square now and call it like body positivity and shit like that.
I
Makes
mean,
me
that's
wonder
just
how
the
like
world we live in, man. We live in a world where the truth does not matter. You know
it's
that
fucked up though, because like imagine like you're like a model, you spend your whole life like trying to stay fit and like in shape and like you're keeping up with like your looks and your body because like that's your job, you have to. And then here comes some fat chick who just got done downing like an 8 piece of fried chicken and like a thing of like soda, and she's gonna get the job and you're not. Like, I don't know. I get the market is subjective, whatever. Let the market function. I get it, but like, I don't know. It's just weird.
that's wild. It's totally wild. I heard about some like feminists that were protesting. You know how like at NASCAR races and other races they got that hot chick to wave the flag.
Yeah, right.
They were like protesting that, and they got some lashback because all these pretty girls that want to do that for work just they're not gonna take well to these feminists telling them they can't.
Crazy, dude. Crazy. I don't get it. That's like that one meme you ever see. It's like some like old ugly lady. She's holding a sign that says like women are not for decoration or something. And then there's this chick from
Some
Hooters.
women.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I love that one. I got that saved. That's in my top 10. Some women are not decoration.
Funny, man. Hilarious. But listen, man, I got to get to planting some crops.
Yeah, it has been a slice. Thank you for your time, Sal.
No problem, man. We should do it again, though. It was good talking to you.
100%. I will DM you. We will have an update on the crops.
Absolutely. Let me know, and then let me know when this comes out, and I'll share it around social media.
I'm gonna jump on it right now. It should be out before tonight.
Awesome. Send me a DM. Are you put it on YouTube or like podcatchers?
I'll put her on YouTube and then I'll put her on Anchor. So they should both come out around the same time.
Awesome.
All right.
DM me whatever link you normally share around.
All right, man. Thank you for coming on.
You got it, brother. Thank you.